This meeting will come to order. This is a regular hearing of the City of Bloomington Transportation Commission. Will the clerk please call the roll?
I'm a secretary, but yes.
Secretary, will the secretary please call the roll?
Kopic.
Here.
Stromaitis. Binder.
Here.
Volan.
Here.
Drummy.
Here.
Flaherty.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Stossberg.
Here.
We have a quorum. Our agenda includes approval of minutes from the previous meeting, reports and communications from commissioners and from staff, including an update on the 180-day orders and the intersection of East 17th Street and North Eagleson Avenue. 5 cases on the agenda tonight: TCR 2512, the 2026 meeting calendar for the commission; TCR 2513, East 19th Street on-street parking from Washington to Lincoln; TCP 2514, the 10th Street corridor study from Morton Street to Park Avenue; TCI 2515, the College Mall and Covenanter intersection improvements; and TCP 2516, the local motion grant program application review and funding allocations. We'll then go to discussion of topics not on the docket, general public comment on items not on the docket, and adjournment. With that, let's go to approval of minutes. Do we have any minutes for approval?
We do.
Would you introduce?
Yeah, I move that the minutes be approved.
Second.
Motion and a second for the minutes of October 20th, 2025. Are there any corrections to the minutes? To my right? To my left? Can we do this by voice vote, or do we need a roll call vote? All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. We now go to reports from commissioners. Is there any commissioner who would like to make a report? On my right. I see we have a new commissioner here. I don't know if Mr. Binder would like to introduce himself.
Happy to, Steve. Thank you. My name's Eoban Binder. First time on this commission. Did serve on the parking commission as well for 6 or 7 years now. So happy to be here. Thank you.
To my left, any reports from commissioners? I will just say that I have been trying to research the foundational documents that this commission relies upon for making its decisions. That includes the Climate Action Plan. There are close to 50 items that just in the section on transportation of the Climate Action Plan that I think it's our obligation to be overseeing. And so I want to float the idea without opening it up for discussion, just reporting that I think it might be useful if we were to consider breaking down into groups to tackle certain parts of the agenda that it's appearing increasingly massive to me for this commission. And I want to talk with commissioners and with staff about maybe forming groups to focus on certain aspects of them. We saw in the meeting just now with the planning session about parking that it's a particular focus for some members and not for others. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, and I'll be soliciting that kind of feedback from commissioners over the next couple of months. Any other reports? Anybody? Last call? Let's go now to reports from staff. We have a 180-day order update. I assume that is from Director of Engineering, Andrew Seabour. Mr. Seabour, hello.
Good evening, Andrew Seabour, City Engineer. Just here to provide a quick update on 180-day orders. Since our last meeting, 1 new order has been established, creating some additional on-street parking spaces on South Washington Street, just for about half a block south of 4th Street. This essentially took what was a very long turn lane and made it shorter, and mirrors a recent curb extension bulb out at the 4th Street intersection, just to better utilize that space. So that has been in place, and I also extended an order regarding some on-street parking over by Mills Pool that was instituted before the summer, and just to keep it in place. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on 180-day orders to my left? To my right? Seeing none, Thanks for that update. Let's go now to the intersection of East 17th and North Eagleson. Is this a report?
This is a report. One sec. All right, I just wanted to provide a staff report on some interest that we've been hearing about the intersection of 17th Street and Eagleson. Just for background, in case not everybody here is aware, within about a 12-month time frame, there were a series of 2 very serious crashes involving pedestrians being struck at this intersection. In both cases, the crashes happened around midnight, the weekend of a home IU football game. Both crashes involved multiple pedestrians being struck and being very severely injured. And both crashes occurred in the eastern crosswalk of the intersection and involved westbound moving traffic. So just some background. The most recent one happened on October 18th of this year, and last year there was a very similar crash on November 9th. So with that background, certainly there's been some recent interest from the community. If you haven't seen, there is a very significant petition on change.org that had roughly 8,000 people requesting some change to that intersection. So that's the background. I think one thing I wanted to jump into was just helps us frame things is the City Safe Streets for All plan, which is a guiding document that I think very much directly relates to the goals of this commission and helps us identify what is most important. So in that document, there's a series of maps. I'm going to quickly go through a few of them. This is a map that captures all fatal and serious injury crashes in the city over a period of from 2019 to 2023. On each of these, I've circled the area of interest. I'm really focusing on the 17th and Eagleson intersection, as well as 17th and Baker, just for some context. So you can see during that time frame, there were no reported serious injury or fatal crashes at the intersection of Eagleson, but there was one at the intersection of David Baker. If you go over time, I think I mentioned in my report, there maybe have been more crashes actually at the David Baker intersection than at the intersection of Eagleson, depending on how far you look. Some years it's more, some years it's less at each of them, but they are very similar to each other, both in severity, number, and type, with multiple pedestrians at each. So this is another map from the Safe Streets for All plan, identifying high injury network. So this is trying to just identify where crashes have occurred that resulted in high injuries. Here you can see that there were some in the vicinity, but the intersection of 17th and Eagleson is not identified. This map captures all modes of crashes. The next map captures vulnerable road users. So you can see that there were some. You see more color there on the 17th Street corridor, not necessarily at the Eagleson intersection. One thing I want to point out too as I fly through these fairly quickly too is just for context, other streets that we'll be talking later today, like 10th Street, you can see tend to be identified. Other corridors that we'll be talking about later with this commission at future meetings, like College and Walnut, potentially Indiana, all also have some trends here. So those maps I just showed you are really based on historical data. This map was basically trying to look forward thinking, what crashes are most likely to experience those high injury fatal crashes. This map did not identify 17th Street or Eagleson or David Baker at this intersection. When we combine all of these data points, these are probably the maps that I focus the most on in this document, our priority corridors and our priority intersections. So it's really looking at what has happened, what might happen, community engagement, all of those things helped inform these. Big picture, you see that there are lines here on 17th Street and Eagleson. So these are priority corridors, priority intersections for improvements. These corridors in particular are medium priority, but they are priority. The intersections themselves, with 17th and Eagleson, 17th and David Baker, are high priority intersections. So just to note that both of these locations are priority. The city had, prior to these recent crashes, identified this area for crosswalk improvements and was starting to develop a crosswalk improvement project. We had some federal money set aside for the construction of it in a few years. So just to know that this has been on our radar and continues to be. Since the crash happened, I guess just wanted to give some updates really on what's happened, what I think will happen in both the near and the long term. So since the most recent crash happened, our Public Works Street Department did put in some in-street pedestrian crossing signs to help raise awareness and visibility of those crossings. We've asked some city crews to do some additional tree trimming just to improve some line of sight for pedestrians that are waiting at the crosswalks. We've also reached out to Duke to do a photometric analysis just to see what the lighting conditions are there at night. There is street lighting, but just to evaluate what is that lighting level, should something more or different be evaluated there. And we have engaged with IU. We were already planning on meeting with them independent of the crashes, but those are just some immediate things that have actually already happened. Looking maybe still near term, I'm still hopeful that maybe before the end of this year, I need to follow up with our public works staff, but essentially wanting to lay out, we have an idea to further improve safety in a near-term way with city crews, essentially trying to do what we would have done with a federally funded capital project, but more near-term, more quick build. And I'll just jump to this next slide. It starts to capture things very conceptually, but in essence, what we're looking to do is actually to remove two of the two crosswalks, the one on the east side of the Eagleson intersection and the crosswalk at David Baker, and consolidate them into a single crosswalk between the two at essentially the crest of the hill. That's where visibility is best. It's also not creating any out-of-direction travel for pedestrians, and it also enables us to create a pedestrian island in the center of the road so that pedestrians only need to cross one direction of traffic at time, and also should help promote lower speeds as well. We're also going to try to produce another median island on the west side of the Eagleson intersection. There you can see in that light blue color. So those are things that we're hopeful that we'll be able to do this calendar year. Can't say it will happen for sure, but expect that in combination with some signage and street and pavement markings. Another idea that we're floating out there that we're not going to be able to do this year, but maybe pursuing further in the future, is some traffic calming in the area. This is something that we've discussed with IU just in our meetings, just as a way, noting that speed is a real concern, that some of the recent crashes, speeding was a factor. But before we were to actually install traffic calming, that just requires more engagement, more thought, more engagement with folks like police and fire, transit, all those folks. And frankly, we have a policy that says what we need to do for public engagement. So there's just some additional steps that we're likely to be pursuing out there. So I just really wanted to provide this update to this commission. No action is needed on your part at this time, but happy to answer any questions that I can then help out with.
Thank you for that informative report. Are there questions? Ms. Davis?
I don't know the name of those signals that the pedestrians can hit and then the flashing lights come on, like outside.
Hawk signal? Hawk signal?
Hawk signal? Were those considered for this? Or
Yeah,
are you considering them?
There are a couple different options. So there's the ones that are more like strobe lights. Those are called rectangular rapid flashing beacons. That's probably more likely an option in the near term than the pedestrian hybrid beacon or hawks. Those are just almost as expensive as a full traffic signal. I guess the one thing I forgot to mention in my very quick report was that we're also continuing to explore longer term fixes. This is still a near-term thing that I've sketched up here. Long-term, as we really started to dig into the crosswalk improvement project, what we really found was that this intersection, specifically of 17th and Eagleson, actually meets traffic signal warrants. So it just essentially highlights the need for maybe something even more significant, like a traffic signal, like a roundabout. And so I think we're going to want to start exploring those longer-term ideas after we get this near-term fix in. Did I answer your question? Okay, thank you.
Further questions from commissioners? Mr. Strasburg.
Yes, you mentioned this calendar year. To clarify, did you mean in the next 6 weeks?
Yes, that's the goal, though I have not yet spoke to our crew staff that would be doing it.
Wow, okay, thanks.
Mr. Binder.
Mr. Sieber, thank you. Rather than removing crosswalks, is it feasible to install these islands that you've indicated here in the kind of blue color at the locations of the existing crosswalks rather than removing crosswalks?
Good question. It could happen in those locations that I've designated for removal. We would just then also need to remove the left turn lane. So that could be an option. As opposed to that, we are trying to also relocate it to a location that I think has better visibility, being at the top of the hill. That was some of the thought process.
Thanks.
If there's no other questions, I wanted to ask, could this have anything to do with the fact that the streets, as they were built initially under the concept that they were one street, they were formerly North Jordan of the so-called North Jordan extension, and yet there are plenty of streets in Bloomington that are less far apart in their continuity than this. Do you think that's playing any kind of role here?
I think there's definitely, I suspect there is a strong pattern of pedestrian activity that involves crossing from Eagleson to David Baker, especially late at night, especially on football weekends.
Okay, thank you. Any other last questions? If not, Mr. Seaborn, thank you for the report. Let's go now to cases. We'll start with TCR 2512. Introduce it.
I make a motion to introduce TC 2512.
Need a second? Would you?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Can we have a presentation on the resolution?
I don't have a prepared presentation. Oh, man. Especially since I'm losing my voice for a second meeting in a row. Next time I just won't talk at all. But we have a draft of the proposed 2026 meeting schedule. Realizing this is our last meeting of the year, so if the meeting schedule doesn't work out, you should at least adopt a meeting to start next year. But we stuck to the third Monday because that works the best for staff, but specifically for this room, and we would like to continue having meetings in this room going forward. So we found weeks that worked best. Occasionally that didn't work if a holiday occurred, so those months moved, and then also part of that meeting schedule is the Transportation Commission agenda deadline. So that has when items need to be brought to staff, and then when the final packet details will need to be submitted. So we've included all that for your review. I'm happy to discuss it further.
Thank you. Any questions about the proposal? To my right, Mr. Flaherty.
Yeah, thank you. One question was, I just noticed that the agenda request deadline, packet submission deadline, and meeting schedule, I would have expected that those were sort of uniform, like the first is always 10 days before the meeting, and the packet submission is always 5 days before the meeting, or something like that. But it seems like that's not the case. I'm seeing like varying time ranges between those sort of pre-meeting deadlines and the meeting itself. Was that intentional? And if so, could you help me understand the rationale? Oh yeah.
My understanding was that the meeting date, you just go back 2 weeks, and that should more or less give you the, so we know that commissioners want a week in advance to review the packet. And so that means that the Monday before, that's when the packet's got to be available. So you go back to the weekend. So Friday is when I'm usually putting the packet together. So I ask that all of those materials be ready on Thursdays.
Got it.
And then as for the agenda requests being on Mondays, that is a very similar sort of thing, is trying to give people a certain amount of time between when the request would come in and then when we would ask for those packet submissions. But there should be a logic to it.
My guess is that, so that makes sense. I would like for there to be a logic to it. I agree with your logic. I'm guessing that when some of those meeting dates were adjusted for holidays or unavailability, that the corresponding agenda and packet deadlines were maybe not adjusted. So there's a handful of months where it's 3+ weeks in advance of the meeting. So I think we would just need to take a look at that and make sure that indeed all the agenda and packets are, deadlines are 2 weeks and 1.5 weeks respectively before the meeting date we settle on. Do you see, like January, for instance, the January 5th agenda request deadline for a January 26th meeting? That's 3 weeks, not 2. So that's what I'm guessing happened. There's a few others, but yes,
Yeah,
perfect.
we'll double check that.
Thank
but
you.
I
Thank
think
you.
Yeah.
To my left, any questions? I do have one. What is taking place on the second Monday of the month that makes this room unavailable?
Plan Commission is taking place that on
I thought
a
they were
majority.
first Monday?
Hold on, I'll pull it up.
Well, in general, I found that city meeting rooms are busiest the first 2 weeks of the month, and then by the fourth week, they're a little less busy. So I was wondering if we can shift to either the second Monday or the fourth Monday of the month. That the fourth Monday would work better at the since we're not really meeting in December, we could have a meeting after Thanksgiving to be the November meeting, December meeting, but everything else would avoid holidays like Martin Luther King Day or spring break. And we can avoid Thanksgiving breaks, just by having a meeting after that. But I'm pretty sure that fourth Mondays are, should be more open. Is it possible that we could do a fourth Monday instead? That would also, resolve like January, we've already got the fourth Monday because of Martin Luther King Day. March, you already got the fourth Monday because of spring break. So that would work better, I would think.
Yeah, fourth Monday could potentially work if that is, if you all would prefer. One of the original goals was to have a member from the Board of Public Works as a representative on the commission. And so that was the ideal goal, was to not double up they would meet on the fourth Tuesday, and so to not have back-to-back meetings. You don't currently have a member who serves on the Board of Public Works, so we could potentially have that work.
Wait, what do you mean, like we don't have that seat hasn't been filled yet?
No, Mr. Kopic
Kopic, yeah.
is a representative on behalf of the Board of Public Works. The original intent was for it to be a member of the Board of Public Works. So that would, the fourth Monday would be back-to-back meetings for that person if there was a Board of Public Works member on this commission. So the idea to be to prevent a double up.
Mr. Kopic, is that an issue for you? No. Okay. So if that's not an issue for the primary person who that was concerned about, I'd like to move that we change to the fourth Monday of the month, or to amend this to be the fourth Monday of the month. I'd love to hear feedback from anybody, whether they have a preference or not. Ms. Davis?
The fourth Monday of the month is the Council for Community Accessibility meeting, and it does go from 4 to 5:30. So,
That's an issue.
I could
Yeah.
get all my city meetings done in one day a month, so
If you prefer that.
it's
then-
okay. It wouldn't be my number one choice, but it's okay.
Okay. We could start at 5:35 if you like.
That'd be
Any
good.
thoughts on my right?
Would
Mr.
it
Flaherty?
be worthwhile to like survey members, I guess? I mean, this commission started in the middle of the year. I think we just sort of picked a date, and maybe when people were being interviewed, they were asked if that time, generally worked for them. I don't know. It's like, we don't, I don't think we're mostly in the habit of like asking commissioners like what night works for them, like when we look at the beginning of the year. Like each commission kind of has its established time, but this is a bit newer, and so I don't know if that warrants different treatment, I guess.
Well, I like that idea because we chose this meeting almost haphazardly, and there's a lot of disadvantages to a third Monday. I'd love it if it were not on a Monday, if it were on a Tuesday, but I'll settle for keeping it on a Monday, but it would work better for me personally if it were not the third Monday. So, and I feel like going to a fourth Monday also makes it a little bit easier to schedule consistently. So, and you've heard my argument on that. Well, we should go to the public if there's no other questions from members. Is there any member of the public who'd like to comment on this resolution? If so, please sign in before being recognized, come to the podium, state your name. You'll have 3 minutes. If there's anybody online, please raise your hand in Zoom and you can be acknowledged. Is there anybody who has a public comment on TCR 2512, the Commission's 2026 calendar? Seeing nobody in the room, is there anybody online? Going twice? Come back to the Commission for debate. Is there anybody who has a thought based on what you've heard? Mr. Flaherty.
I guess just a question for commissioners, if we adopted this resolution, are there any commissioners who know at this time that they would, not preferences, but just strictly would not be able to attend, let's say half or more, many of the meetings consistently?
Me. I know I would.
Chair Brolin, okay.
Is it the pleasure of members to either postpone this to January or to amend it now?
From my perspective, it doesn't matter when we do it. The sooner I can put it on my calendar, the better. That's the only important part of my life. But whatever, I'm fine with fourth Monday of the month, or it doesn't matter to me.
Mr. Stossberg?
Yeah, either one works for me.
No preference here, but I would agree that the sooner it goes on the calendar, the better.
Then I'd just like to move to amend it to reflect the fourth Monday of the month, with the exception of the last meeting of the year. And I'd like to ask staff, would you prefer November 30th or December 7th for that post-Thanksgiving meeting? No, November 30th would be the Monday after Thanksgiving. And December 7th would be a full week after that to give people a chance to recover from whatever Thanksgiving did to them. We can always amend it later if that helps.
Okay, we've conferred, and December 7th works for
Very
staff.
good. Okay, so I propose that everything be adjusted to reflect the fourth Thursday of the month, with the exception of the last meeting of the year, which will be scheduled for December 7th.
Can I propose one quick amendment that allows staff to make adjustments as needed?
And with staff to make adjustments as needed.
Yeah,
to
just in
the-
case.
Yeah.
You actually said Thursday in the motion. you just
Sorry,
made.
God, I'm sorry. Let me restate the motion. Move that we change to the fourth Monday of the month for all meetings, with the exception of the final meeting of the year, which will be scheduled in 2026 for December 7th. I need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. So this is an amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Mr. Flaherty.
I wonder if Commissioner Davis has an opinion, or is truly willing to to accommodate. I mean, I feel like that's a bit it's challenging for your schedule, I guess, with respect to potentially, or maybe really convenient. I don't know.
If somebody brings me snacks?
We'll rotate and
Okay, great.
sign up
Thank you.
for snack service. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? We'll go to the public for comment. Is there any member of the public who'd like to comment on the amendment? Anybody online? Please raise your hand in Zoom. Are there any takers? All right, any final comment from members? To my right? To my left? We're voting on the amendment now to adjust to the fourth Monday and December 7th for the last meeting of the year. Can we have a roll call vote on the amendment?
Binder.
Yes.
Volin.
What?
Sorry,
Yes,
Volin.
yes.
Drummy.
Yes.
Flaherty.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Strasburg.
Yes.
Kopic.
Yes.
Stramitis.
Yes.
That passes 8-0. We now come back to the amendment, or to the resolution as amended. Any final comment? Seeing none, let's have a roll call vote on GCR 2512 as amended.
Volin.
Yes.
Drummy.
Yes.
Flaherty.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Strasburg.
Yes.
Kopic.
Yes.
Stramitis.
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
And that passes unanimously 8-0. We have a calendar for 2026. Let's go now to the next item. Would you care to move it?
Just for clarity's sake, I'm going to keep doing this. You don't actually have to do that because you'll have to make motions on recommendations.
Oh, I keep forgetting, that's
So,
right.
yeah,
All
sorry.
right. Well, then let's just go to TCR 2513. Who is here to present the East 19th Street on-street parking? Old habits die hard. Sorry about that.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Trace Tahir with the engineering. We are seeking your support to post no parking on 19th Street from Washington to 50 feet east of Lincoln Street. Today, parking on both sides in this block pinches the roadway, creating meeting and passing conflicts. And we have also seen cars parking close to southeast corner of Lincoln, which reduces side distance. And as you can see on the plane, this creates a continuous south side restriction plus 90 feet clearance to preserve two-way operation and improve visibility at this location, at the intersection of Lincoln and 19th Street. And temporary no parking is in place now because of the HAB 2 project, and permanent signs will be installed by the developer at closeout. And of course, in coordination with the engineering and parking. And staff respectfully request your support for the proposal, and I'm happy to answer any question you have.
All right, are there questions, Ms. Davis?
What is Hub 2?
It's, I don't know. It's up, or what I know, it's project there, but I don't know.
It's a new development, I think, isn't it?
It's not mine.
So is it housing? And
Right.
does it include parking? Like a garage or something?
Andrew Seabour, city engineer. It is a large, I think, student-focused development, and I believe it does have an internal parking garage as a part of the development. And as a part of that development, they are essentially narrowing the street on the south side and adding sidewalks and doing all sorts of things. So this is just in coordination with that project's plan.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Quickly.
To my right, Mr. Binder.
To the best knowledge of staff, was the Plan Commission's intention in approving the site plan for Hub 2, that this change to the parking configuration for the block face would be rolled into that? Or is this just a oversight?
As a member of the Plan Commission, I would say that this was an intended part of the site plan.
Okay, thank you.
Questions to my left? I guess I'm always a little reluctant to give up something that might naturally be slowing traffic down. How much is the road narrowing from what I see on the current Google Maps photo of this block?
So right now, if after, it's right now it's 22 feet. So if the parking on the other side, we will say the cars will be like 7 or 8 feet. So that will be 13 or something feet. So it's the cars so can go, the traffic can flow through there.
Because the Google Map photo that I'm seeing shows pre-Hub 2, and the street looks quite wide. It looks like at least 30 feet wide. Did the road get narrowed?
Yes, that's why we are proposing right now that, because right now the road, after, it's not 30 feet, it's less than that.
Okay. Is there, has there been any comment? Do you know who has been using that parking? And was there any thought in the neighborhood of?
I think just the neighborhoods or the residents on the north side using it right now. And the other side, as I said, there is a temporary no parking because of the construction, so there is nobody parked on the south side.
Do you know when the construction will be done?
I think in the summer 2027.
Okay, so it's not really an issue right now because of construction.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any more other questions before we go to the public? To my left? To my right? Let's go to the public for comment. If you would like to speak to this issue, please come to the podium, sign in, state your name. You'll have 3 minutes. If you would like to speak and you're online, please raise your hand in Zoom, and you'll be called by staff. Is there anybody on Zoom who would like to speak to issue TCR 2513, East 19th Street parking? Anybody in the room? I see nobody hustling to the microphone. Last call. Seeing none, we come back to the commission for debate. Is there anybody who has any comment? To my left? To my right? Seeing none, let's have
I have a comment.
Okay, please, Mr. Drumming.
I've recently rode my bike through this area, and it's a little bit, it is night and day what I remember it being like before with the building there, so it's very narrow, but I think part of that's construction. But I will say that having cars parked on both sides of 19th Street, even traditionally, is always a little bit tricky for cyclists. That's a cycling thoroughfare to get out of the city through Cascades Park. So I'm in favor of, I think having cars on one side is better than having on both. Having one side to worry about instead of two is better from that perspective. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Anybody else? Now we need a recommendation. What are the 3 options again?
Here, you can adopt the proposed findings and make a positive recommendation. You can you can adopt your own findings and make a positive, negative, or no recommendation.
Okay, that's too many choices. Does anybody want to make a recommendation?
I move that we adopt the findings of staff for this report and approve it with a positive recommendation.
Need a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Drummy,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Davis, Stossberg,
Yes.
Kopic,
Yes.
Estramitis,
Yes.
Binder,
Yes.
Bolin.
Yes. TCR 2513 passes 8-0. Let's move on now to TCP 2514, the 10th Street Corridor Study from Morton to Park Avenue. Here to present, is that Hank Duncan? It is.
It is Hank Duncan. Hi there, Hank Duncan, Safe Streets Program Manager. Good to be here. The 10th Street Safety Improvements Project aims to improve safety of 10th Street between Morton Street and Park Avenue and improve the connection between the Indiana University campus and the Trades District for all street users. The section of 10th Street between Walnut Street and Park Avenue is identified as high priority in the Safe Streets for All Action Plan. Additionally, the following intersections along the project area are identified as priority intersections: 10th and Morton, 10th and College, 10th and Walnut, 10th and Lincoln, 10th and Grant, 10th and Dunn, and 10th and Indiana. 10th Street between Morton and Park Avenue is identified as general urban in the transportation plan. The old northeast downtown and High Point neighborhoods surround this portion of 10th Street. The current posted speed limit in the project area is 30 miles an hour. The mean speed of vehicles is 28.6 miles an hour, with 34.9% of vehicles traveling above the posted speed limit. The project area sees an average daily traffic volume of 8,524 vehicles. Multiple public meetings and community feedback opportunities inform the concept design development. As illustrated in the attached conceptual design plans, the project incorporates various ways of promoting safety, including lowering the posted speed limit to 25 miles an hour, adding tree plots and grass buffers between the sidewalk and the street, constructing raised intersections at uncontrolled intersections along the corridor, installing traffic calming, and creating highly visible crosswalks. Staff recommends that the Transportation Commission adopt the proposed findings and approve the 10th Street Safety Improvements Project concept. We have the concepts attached below. Instead of me going through page by page, I'll leave it to you to ask any questions, and I can give more input and analysis into whatever you have questions on. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Are there questions for Mr. Duncan or staff on TCP 2514?
I have a question.
Let's start with Mr. Binder and then Mr. Kopic.
Thank you. My question is, if it's possible to put the figure of 34.9% of vehicles traveling over the posted speed limit on 10th Street, is it possible to provide the commission with some context? Is that, it seems very high to me, but perhaps not, and maybe that's more typical than I realize. Could you provide a little bit of interpretation to that number?
Sure. In terms of projects that we work on, which are generally high priority streets or streets with higher rates of speeding, this is about typical of what we see, maybe on the higher end of it. For reference, and I don't have exact numbers on previous projects, but for example, on North Indiana Avenue, between 7th to 10th, we're seeing over 50% above the posted speed limit. Before we completed the Maxwell Lane traffic calming project a few years back, we saw over 50% above the posted speed limit. So I don't want to say that this is acceptable. It's not acceptable by any means, but there have been other projects with this number or higher of speeding on the street.
Follow-up question. Based on those other projects, those past projects that you just mentioned, what is staff's anticipation of the rate of speeding following the installation of traffic calming measures as depicted in these concepts?
Sure. So we have developed a relatively uniform profile for speed humps or speed cushions or raised crosswalks and intersections around the city. And this street, we are designing so vehicles do drive at the eventually newly posted speed limit of 25 miles an hour. So the design is for 25 miles an hour.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kopic.
So will you need to acquire additional right-of-way to complete this project? And what kind of time frame are you looking for this to happen?
Sure. So actually, one great thing about this project is that it does not require additional right-of-way. We are working within the right-of-way already there, and we are working with incoming developments, there are a couple sections that you can see, say, on the right side of the screen there with a wider tree plot and a wider sidewalk. That is in coordination with a new development coming in there with a 10-foot sidewalk and a 5 or 8-foot tree plot. You had a second question as well, I believe.
Time frame for the
Time frame,
project?
thank you. So funding is the question for time frame. Right now, we've been working with the Economic and Sustainable Development Department. They are working with IU and the Lilly Grant. Essentially, that is a grant that was given to IU and the city of Bloomington to promote the trades district and incorporate more infrastructure improvements in the trades district and connecting Indiana University to the trades district. So our hope is that some of that funding could be used for this project. We are going to begin design on this project as soon as it is approved by this commission. And then after that, it is a matter of when we can find funds to actually construct this project.
Ms. Davis.
Are there any plans to improve sidewalks as part of this project other than what the developers are going to be required to do?
Yes, we have done multiple walks and strolls along the corridor and identified where there are broken sidewalk panels, heaving sidewalk panels, any kind of inconsistencies in level, and we have identified those for replacement in this project, along with curb ramps.
So the cost would be borne by this project and not by the property owners in those cases?
Yes.
Thanks.
Mr. Drummy?
In the other projects you've done with traffic calming, have you compared the results after the project's been completed, and can you give some examples of how that turned out?
Sure, that's a great question. Again, I don't have other project numbers on me right now. I can talk about a couple that I can remember offhand, just round numbers. The Maxwell Lane project that I mentioned earlier, that spanned from Henderson Street to Woodlawn Avenue through the Bryan Park and Elm Heights neighborhoods. Again, before that project was completed, we saw well over 50% of folks speeding down that corridor. After we implemented a series of, I believe, 4 or 5 speed humps along the corridor with a design speed of 25 miles an hour, we're now seeing a speeding rate of around 3 to 4%. Similarly, on Miller Drive from Henderson to Olive, that's down by the CBU Department of Public Works area down there by Bloomington South. We did a similar project of we incorporated about 4 to 5 speed humps. Again, before then, it's a wide street, 30 feet wide, without a lot of utilized parking, high rates of speed above 50% above the speed limit. And then after the project was completed, I don't have an exact number, but it was well below that. We're talking about around maybe 5 to 15% above the speed limit. Yeah.
Ms. Shermitis.
Is this like a part of the cycling core of the city? I know there's 7th Street, and then I don't really see another like east-west connector north of 10th Street. Is there currently a lot of cycling on here? Is this going to affect that at all?
So this was actually a very frequently discussed topic throughout this project outreach and design phase, where currently there is no either striped or protected bike infrastructure along the corridor, even though it is a relatively utilized corridor to connect downtown, the Maple Heights neighborhoods with Indiana University. There are many cyclists who do use that as a connection. There are many more pedestrians who use it than cyclists. I will say, in the city's transportation plan, it does call for a protected bike lane on the street. And this was a back and forth internally and externally on what a final decision should be. Essentially looking at the right-of-way available, looking at the setbacks or lack thereof along the corridor, there just isn't room for protected bike lanes along this corridor without long-term impacts to the corridor. So instead, we focused on the pedestrian experience of separating sidewalks from the street by using tree plots, grass buffers, and then the traffic calming not only benefits drivers by slowing down, it benefits pedestrians by allowing safer crossings, but it also benefits cyclists so they can more easily take the lane and ride with the flow of traffic, because instead of having drivers drive at 35 or 40 miles an hour, we're talking about 20 to 25 miles an hour.
First round, do you have a first round question?
Yes.
Yeah.
How would you summarize the public feedback you received to this?
Sure. So with any kind of project, there is no one consensus. There's no unanimous direction that members of the public and stakeholders want to go in. I will say this is as close as we've gotten with any kind of project. We went out to the Mr. Copy parking lot along the corridor twice for public meetings. We sent out mailers. We had online comment forms. And sure, there are specific ideas that may not have been incorporated or may have been thought of in other directions. But for the most part, this has been one of the most positive public outreach processes we've gone through, and we're confident that we heard the public and what we've come up with.
I'm looking at page 30 of our packet, and I note the following data, where there is a noting of the average speed in the 85th percentile. There's one that's 30 miles an hour, one that's 32, one that's 30, one that's 31, one that's 29. This is between Washington and Dunn, give or take a block. Those don't sound like excessive speeds. I don't get how we got 35% of traffic going above the speed limit when you've got, I mean, the speed limit now is 30, I thought, on there, isn't it?
So the current speed limit is 30 miles an hour. We are referring to the numbers on 10th Street between Lincoln and Grant with the ADT of 8,524, average speed of 28.6 miles an hour, and 85th percentile at 32. With those numbers, 35% of those drivers were driving above 30 miles an hour.
But isn't the 85th percentile mean that 15% were driving above 32? That math doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not sure what the question is.
How is it if the 85th percentile is 32 that 35% of traffic is going, I guess because there are a lot of people going 30 and 31 miles an hour.
There you go.
Okay, sorry. It's not an excess of, I thought it was more excessive than that. Okay, that's my question. Is there second round questions from members? To my left? To my right? Mr. Binder.
My only minor question is, there are some not applicable numbers on the side streets for average speed. Is that simply because average daily traffic was counted but speed was not measured or just not recorded?
There are some counts, and I'm not the expert in this by any means, but talking with the engineering staff who goes out and does these counts, there are some counts that we do that are geared towards targeting speeds and speed accuracy. There are some counts that go out and target volume accuracy. I would guess on these side street counts that either they were done in years prior to where we would want to use the speed, or they were geared towards volume rather than speed.
And maybe NA means not available?
Right, and I suspect it's also because the side streets have stop signs and therefore traffic would be coming to a stop at that intersection, and therefore average speed doesn't really come into play there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Final questions before we go to public comment. On my right? On my left? Let's go to public comment now. If you're interested in speaking to TCP 2514, the 10th Street Corridor Study, please come to the podium, state your name, sign in. You'll have 3 minutes. If you are online, please raise your hand in Zoom, and you'll be recognized by the secretary. Anybody online? We don't see anybody rushing to the podium here. Last call for comments on TCP 2514. Let's come back now to the commission for debate. Can we just get for a petition, what are our options?
Same as last time. You can adopt the proposed findings and make a forward, you can adopt the proposed findings and approve the 10th Street Safety Improvement Project, or you can adopt your own findings and still approve or deny send it back for redesign, or you can extend it to a different meeting.
Okay, just to be clear, the title of this item is 10th Street Corridor Study. It doesn't say project or construction plan or anything. What exactly are we approving? Just the redesign? Is this a redesign?
You are approving the safety improvement traffic calming that is in the designs shown. So the title is different than the actual recommendation, which would be the 10th Street Safety Improvement Project concept.
Okay. Is there any debate on this issue? Mr. Flaherty.
Thanks. Only a somewhat related procedural question, which is that could staff distinguish for us again the different circumstances under which you bring a petition versus a resolution, since in both cases we're either adopting or proposing our own findings and recommending, in favor or against a staff conclusion of some kind?
Yeah, a petition is always tied to some sort of infrastructure improvement and may or may not include amendments to Title 15 or other related documents, whereas a resolution will always relate to another related document, but not having an infrastructure improvement. So it's essentially, is there a project related to the project?
So kind of more like policy versus infrastructure?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so just to clarify, we're voting on policy.
Resolutions for policy,
Oh, sorry.
petitions for infrastructure.
Okay, so we're voting on infrastructure. I'm just finding my feet here. Any comments on what kind of, basically what you should do if you wanted to speak to this is what kind of proposal, what kind of finding you'd like to see. Here's your chance to weigh in. On my right? On my left? Okay, well, I need a motion from somebody.
I move to adopt TCP 2514 as presented with a positive finding.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the secretary please call the roll on the motion to adopt with a positive recommendation?
Flaherty.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Strasburg.
Yes.
Kopic.
Yes.
Stromaitis.
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
Volin.
Yes.
Drummy.
Yes.
That's 8-0. It's adopted unanimously. Thank you. We now go to TCI 2515, improvements to College Mall and Covenanter intersection. This is an inquiry, not a petition or a resolution. Who is here to present?
Laura Gao.
Hello.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
I am Laura Gao, and I am a resident of Ridgemead Hills neighborhood. I bring complaints about the intersection of College Mall Road and Covenanter Drive. It's a dangerous intersection for pedestrians and apparently a confusing one for drivers who are westbound on Covenanter turning left south onto College Mall Road. I understand you have been provided with a photograph of the intersection looking westbound. Currently, for the left-hand turning lane, there is a signal with 5 cells, a single red one on top with 2 layers of side-by-side cells below it. Vehicles in the designated left turn lane get a protected green arrow on the left cell and a simultaneous constant green light in the cell right beside it. The green left arrow goes off, the solid yellow arrow above it comes on while the green bottom light on the right of this same lane's signal stays solid green. Then the yellow arrow disappears on the left middle cell, but the right bottom cell remains green. The pedestrians get their white right-of-way crossing light while this right green cell stays illuminated for that left-hand turn lane. The green light indicates permission for vehicles to turn left after yielding the right-of-way to oncoming traffic, either pedestrian or vehicular. This intersection has no stationary signage with left turn yield to oncoming traffic, left turn yield to pedestrians instructions, as many other intersections do have, such as at 3rd Street and Pete Ellis Drive. As a nearby homeowner who has had family members use this intersection up to 3 times a day, often with Kroger's as the destination, I am aware that drivers cut off and flip off pedestrians crossing in the crosswalk when the pedestrians have the white light to do so. Pedestrians have to halt or wave proactively to drivers to indicate their presence. Some elderly neighbors told me they prefer to jaywalk further to the south rather than use the crosswalk. I was pedestrian struck by a pickup truck at 3:30 p.m. on a clear afternoon last December 17th as I tried to cross College Mall Road. It went down this way. I arrived at the crosswalk, pushed the button, and awaited my turn. North-south traffic got their red lights and stopped. 3 west-pointing cars waiting to turn left on their protected green arrow got their light and did so. There was no one in the left-hand turn lane behind them. I got my pedestrian crossing light and entered the intersection. The truck which struck me was first quite physically far away in the right-hand lane, the lane to go straight or to make a right turn. That's why I entered the intersection. I kept my eye on him, and to my horror, the truck then drifted over into the left turn lane without signaling, and the driver accelerated through his turn till he had struck me, knocking me down and breaking my wrist, causing contusions and road rash, and running over my 2 feet. He did not yield the right-of-way, and I could not get away. I assumed he had run a red arrow, but when I investigated later, I saw again to my horror that this whole 5-cell signal is for that dedicated turn lane, and the constant green light stays on in the bottom right cell after the yellow turn arrow on the left middle cell has gone off. That contributes to why there are so many close calls and the flipping off of pedestrians. As the driver who struck me drifted over into the left-hand turn lane and began the turn leading to the collision course with me, I now believe there was a green light in the right-hand bottom cell of his lane signal. That source of confusion would be on the city. His inattentiveness as an operator of his truck is on him. As I went today one more time to double-check the intersection signal action, I observed and photographed that the white painted pavement arrows for the left turn lane and the go straight or turn right lane are worn to indiscernibility, as are the white pavement lines indicating where the cars must stop on the red lights, and the lines for the designated pedestrian crosswalk going north-south across Covenanter. I sent that picture to Ryan Roebling late this afternoon. So this is a very troubled and very busy intersection. It could be improved these ways. A signal that for that left-hand turn lane on the east side of College Mall Road with 3 cells, not 5, for those drivers turning left. A red arrow or a red signal for the left-hand turn when pedestrians have requested their right-of-way to cross. Alternatively, a 3-cell signal that goes to a flashing yellow arrow in the middle cell when the end of the protected left-hand vehicular turn is over, and an added stationary sign saying yield to pedestrians, non-coming traffic, or with a little symbol of a pedestrian or something to indicate that the left-hand turning vehicles must yield the right-of-way when they do not have the green arrow. My city contacts have told me that this is a known dangerous intersection, so I am begging the Transportation Commission to move forward with speedy signage and pavement painting improvements. Besides this one, please consider flashing yellow arrows and stationary yield to pedestrian signage at other known dangerous intersections in this growing city, as well as easily visible white pavement demarcations. That is what you can do. And now I would ask if there's a representative of the police here. Did anybody come, as I was told would happen?
The chief of police is here.
As for the inattentive, incapacitated drivers and scofflaws, I would ask the police do their job. The police were summoned quickly, apparently, by the eyewitnesses who watched the 26-year-old man run over the 62-year-old woman with his truck. The police did not get any witness reports, did not test the driver for impairment, and did not ask him if he was texting. The young man officer cited the young man driver merely for an expired license plate. The officer further checked the box on his crash report that the estimate of total damage from the incident was $1,001 to $2,500 as I went off to the hospital to begin my expensive medical odyssey that involves surgery, physical therapy, and an altered future. As part of telling my tale, I have had to withstand the indignation of every person who hears that the driver was not cited for a moving violation. So in addition to my plea to the Transportation Committee, my experience of 11 months ago tonight indicates that the police need to perform better in upholding the safety of pedestrians in Bloomington, citing offenders, and recording crash reports in a way that reflects reality. I respectfully request that the Chief of Police carry that back to the station. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Gao. This is a kind of a twofold issue. I do want to hear opinion from staff, and that would include planning staff for the first part of her inquiry and the chief for the second part. If anyone has a different way for proceeding, just let me know, but I thought we would go that way. First, let's hear from planning staff on their reaction to her inquiry.
That is not the goal of a transportation inquiry to respond. Hold on, sorry. Staff doesn't come prepared with a response. The idea is for this to be a voice.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So there's no, you have no particular feedback?
We only provide background. We don't weigh in at this stage. The idea to be what you all would like us to consider or think about or do.
Okay. I guess then I'll just open the floor to questions from commissioners again, we have staff here and the inquirer. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask Mr. Binder?
First of all, I just want to say, Ms. Cow, I'm truly sorry that this happened to you, and I think you and everybody in the city deserve far better. I think my idea for staff here would be to probably as a baseline conduct a new study of traffic at this intersection, because I look at the date on the attached figures, and I believe it was conducted in 2013. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So I think at the very least, some kind of new, more updated set of data would be helpful. And then I guess I would also like to hear at some point, obviously not at this meeting, I understand that staff doesn't have any, particular documents prepared right now, but at a future meeting perhaps, outlining for this commission kind of what the short-term and then long-term ideas that staff have for this intersection to improve safety.
So I guess what we're doing with an inquiry is deciding whether or not we want to, what are the options again, Mr. Roebling? I should have that in front of me, but.
They're on the screen now, but.
Okay, so our options are to determine that no action is warranted at this time, to request additional study, as Mr. Binder has just done, or request that a future petition or resolution addressing the issues raised be placed on a subsequent agenda. But we would have to identify a clear and actionable outcome, directive, or policy objective to be developed and prepared for future consideration. So those are our options. With that, I'll continue opening the floor to
just a point of order. Are these mutually exclusive options, or because it seems as though we could request additional study or information and request a future resolution, but perhaps one comes first that I gather information. Is that my understanding?
That's a good question for staff. Does this mean that if we chose C, does that automatically include B?
Correct, yeah. The idea would be that C always includes B.
So if all you want is study, then you can make that recommendation. If you definitely want it to be a future petition, where that's formally written up by staff, where they analyze the issue and they come up with a recommendation as well, that then you would recommend C. The C would include further study. Any more thoughts on this inquiry from any member on my left? We'll start with Mr. Drummy and then Ms. Davis.
I have a question. On the photo that's on page 30, PDF page 39, those black device on top of the tallest little device, is that a traffic sensor? I've always wondered what those things were. They kind of look like cameras, but I've been told they're not cameras.
So actually, on the pole to your right is, I believe, that's the video detection or detection of the signal.
The sense of traffic's there to change the light?
Correct.
Does it count cars?
This, I'm making assumptions here. My guess is that this is older technology and it does not collect that kind of data.
Thank you.
Ms. Davis? You have nothing? Okay. And on my left here, anybody else with a question or a thought?
I guess my question or request for information would be to see what you could do with the traffic signal timing and maybe take into consideration the yellow flashing arrow during the phase of the light.
Yeah, just for context, maybe some reminders or things that might be forthcoming that maybe I haven't shared before is the city does have an ongoing study to update the traffic signal timing of all of our signalized intersections. That project's been in development for a long time, partially due to our lack of having a filled traffic engineer position, but expecting to make real progress on that early next year because we have filled that position. So yeah, signal timing certainly will be evaluated just as a part of that at this intersection and all intersections throughout the city. And then the comment about flashing yellow arrow, I think just generally speaking, wanting to state that as we're modernizing our signalized intersections and there are left turn lanes, that is, I think, becoming our common go-to and expectation. The trick is, in a location like this, it's not necessarily just an easy thing to swap out a signal. There's a lot of rewiring and actually would need to add another signal because that would be just for the left turn movement. So it's just, I guess my point is that it's not a quick and easy thing just to put in a different signal head. But
I guess my question was, on the phasing was to add a dedicated crossing for pedestrians through the timing, but on the 5-section head, I didn't know you couldn't put a yellow flashing arrow in that center.
you can't. That's the trick, is that we would need to swap out that 5-section doghouse to put in a 4-section signal just for the left turn lane, but also add another 3-section head. And all of this stuff is possible, but would be a significant effort that essentially requires a contractor and project.
Thank you.
To my right, questions? Mr. Flaherty?
Thank you. So earlier this evening, we were looking at some of the maps in the Safe Streets for All Action Plan, which I think, we should be doing regularly when we're talking about these intersections. I'll note that the High Injury Network Vulnerable Road User map, this intersection does appear as the darkest color, which is the highest priority for intervention. And there have been a number of serious injury crashes of both pedestrians and cyclists noted in the other maps. So that's on page 27 of that plan. There are, of course, probably a couple dozen intersections that would meet that highest priority. So I guess, first of all, it seems to me that this would warrant action related to B or C among the options we have. And then second, just asking maybe from more perspective from staff of like how we are systematically and holistically approaching those, some of those most dangerous intersections. Is there a process anticipated yet? Like if, let's say it's 23 intersections in the city, do each of those 23 have a schedule or a plan by which we hope to, or a timeline by which we hope to get to them? Or are we still getting oriented to that? Is it a bit more ad hoc? Could you help me understand how we might think about this particular need, which I think is well established in the context of, this planning document and city needs generally?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. There's multiple factors going in, so I guess we're maybe still in some transition of how to use that map in relation to modernizing old equipment that needs to be replaced. So there's the balance of maintaining, we've got old signals that might not be the highest of priorities, but if we don't do it, it's not just simply that simple. But that being said, I think it's a fair question that we need to honestly look at further. and be more mindful of for things like this.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Strasburg.
Yes, I thought you did a good job of breaking this into two parts, infrastructure and policy. On the infrastructure side, I'm one of the members who came from the Bike Pedestrian Safety Commission. A longtime member there, Jim Rosenbarger, mentioned this intersection many times because it is on a bike route used by cyclists, and he's now passed away before he got a chance to see significant improvements. I think it is along a greenway, and I live along near a greenway, Longview, and I would ask if today, would this level of comfort or level of surface meet the standards that we have for what we expect for a neighborhood greenway, this intersection?
I think if we were starting from scratch or redesigning this intersection, especially for those crossing College Mall using Covenanter, the things that we're talking about, like the traffic signal, we would have the newer, better technology. We would have a flashing yellow that would also enable us to have protected only pedestrian crossings when somebody activates it. Those kinds of things would be available with more modern equipment that we don't yet have at this intersection.
So that's a potential something actionable for this commission to check to see if this intersection is appropriate for our greenways plan, and then bring it up to our standards. On the policy part, I'm interested to hear from the police how drivers are cited in cases like this. Specifically, recently we have the Safe Streets for All and Vision Zero plans. I'm interested to understand how this policy addresses our interest to protect vulnerable road users. Thank you.
So Mike Dekoff, Police Chief for the City of Bloomington. So we do not have specific policies to say everyone who breaks a traffic law gets a ticket. That would be very bad policy. And so it's left to officer discretion. And there's a lot of things that go into that. I'm not going to comment on this specific case because there could be pending civil litigation, so I'm not going to do that. But there are lots of things that officers look at when they're at an accident, when they are stopping a car for a traffic violation, as to what might make them make the decision to write a ticket. And so there's nothing that I can point to specifically because each individual officer evaluates each individual accident or traffic stop separately. So I can't really give you a definite answer as to you're going to get a ticket every time this happens because we don't have policies that address that. So in situations like this, accident reports are, when officers show up for those, we gather the information at that time. The officer may not have known how severe someone's injuries might have been. And so unless someone follows up with the officer to have that added to the report, we don't necessarily know that information. And so we're basically information gatherers to put it on a form to give it to the state. That's what we do with traffic accidents. I don't know if that answered your question, but I think that's about the best I could probably do.
Yeah, I am interested on how those calls are made. I live in the Park Ridge neighborhood. We had a girl, 10 years old, who was hit. She was crossing the crosswalk as she should, thrown across the intersection. The driver had clearly not stopped at the stop sign. He was not cited. Several of her teeth were knocked out. Her jaw were broken. The police report said minor scrapes and bruises. So it's not just like an isolated case. And I was speaking with Mr. Drummy. He's a lawyer, handles some related cases. So I'm interested in some alignment here with our Safe Streets for All and Vision Zero plans to protect vulnerable road users. If there's something we can do at the police department to make sure this category in particular is protected. We don't have the 2,000 to 3,000 pound boxes protecting us. Sometimes it seems like there are clear cases where there has been a violation. A vulnerable road user has been sent to the hospital the particular case, I think, would do well to align with our city goals for the Safe Streets for All. Thank you.
I'm going to take a turn, Mr. Dieckhoff, if you wouldn't mind. The terms that Mr. Seabour and planning staff tend to use when talking about these events are crash or collision, but you use the word accident. Could it be that that term sort of preemptively absolves a driver because it just sort of implies that nobody was at fault? Do you see that concern?
I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of times where, you know, in crashes or collisions that it's hard to find fault. And so, you know, there are a lot of situations where civil litigation is the route that those types of things should take.
No, I get it. I'm just saying that the word accident sort of implies that, well, we're going to start out by assuming that nobody's at fault, whereas a collision is kind of neutral on that. Do you see the difference? I don't know.
I would not think that that would be something that an officer would look at and absolve someone of responsibility.
Okay. Thank you for that. And with respect to this intersection, I want to direct to engineering or planning staff. I thought that Covenanter, and this intersection in particular, but from this intersection east, is the subject of no small plan for improvement. In fact, I recall that it was a discussion, Councilmember Flaherty, do you recall when we were discussing College Mall Road? And there was a vote on the redesign of the entirety of the road from 3rd Street down to Sayre. I think we talked about it then, but I'm not sure. But is there not an intention to, doesn't this intersection need redesigning pretty badly? And isn't it sort of high on the list?
I could go back through my notes, but there was a time, one of the previous GO bonds included potential funding for, I want to say it was a protected bike lane project on Covenanter from this intersection to the east, but it was one of the not highest priorities of that bond funding, and it essentially isn't moving forward. And as a part of that project would have included this intersection. I think another just important detail of the intersection is that there's essentially a bridge, right? There's a lot of limitations. It's not an easy intersection to significantly alter, but yes.
Yeah, I remember that bridge too, and that it was scheduled for upgrade or repair, the bridge.
I couldn't speak to that because typically the county maintains bridges.
Right. Okay, so why is it essentially not going forward?
At this very second, because there isn't funding that would have been a very significant multi-million-dollar protected bike lane project that included some intersection improvements.
And it's not going forward because we had other priorities, or we lost money, or both?
There was insufficient money to move that project along.
Okay, thank you. Second round questions, Mr. Drummey.
I have a question for Chief Dieckhoff and Andrew first off, quickly. Is there, with regards to this particular intersection, is there not a way with the current technology to have it all-way red and allow for pedestrians to cross with a walk light with what is there currently?
I would need to double check. So essentially having everything red for all vehicles. And I would need to double check that, but
wouldn't that solve I mean, I realize it would it may have a traffic flow component.
Yeah, I think there's one other intersection in the city that currently functions that way, but it has thousands upon thousands of pedestrians.
The one at the Arboretum?
Yeah.
Or by the business school?
By 10th and, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Strasburg?
Sorry,
Mr. Drummey, go ahead.
Sure. Sorry, thank you. Chief Dieckhoff, my name is Brian Drummey. I'm a lawyer, Bunger and Robertson, personal injury lawyer primarily. And I don't mean to put you on the spot. I review hundreds of police reports a year from not just Bloomington, all over the state. I never see citations ever. I mean, I shouldn't say never, but unless there's drinking or drugs or I don't even see distracted driving citations. So to your comment about civil litigation, it has its place, and police reports have their limitations. I mean, I'm glad they exist. They're not admissible as evidence in Indiana because the police officer primarily didn't see what happened. It's just him gathering information, hearsay information. So, but in terms of citations, you know, civil law doesn't provide a penalty or deterrent for texting and driving. Doesn't, it's just an insurance company thing. It's a monetary exchange. The insurance companies admit liability and wipe out those other issues. So I would just urge you and your officers, like, you guys are the front lines to making us be safer or making people drive safer. And by the time it gets to me, it's long gone. I mean, that's.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you actually think a traffic ticket is going to make someone drive safer?
I do.
I don't.
Well, it increases their insurance rates if they have them.
But again, is that going to make them safer? That's going to cost them more money with their insurance, but I'm not sure that's going to make them a safer driver.
So are we giving up on it then?
No, I'm not saying that.
So how do we make?
But if I issue a policy that says you will cite everyone who breaks a traffic law or is involved in an accident, I'm not sure that this community wants that. So where do I draw that line of letting officers' discretion decide what they do versus me writing a policy that says you don't have any discretion anymore, you will do this? That I believe would be a very dangerous situation that this community would not like.
I agree they probably wouldn't like it, but that's not what I'm suggesting. You said, hey, let the civil lawyers figure it out. I'm just telling you, that's not a solution to determine on the front end. There's nothing we can do a year later when a case comes in our office to find, well, there are certain things we can do, but oftentimes the information's gone. To look at the cell phone or to capture that data, a year later, that person may not have that cell phone to see if they were texting. And I've had cases where...
So you're also probably familiar with what would be involved in us seizing a cell phone, getting court orders to do all that. And I'm not sure in a infraction situation that we would get that information to follow through on that investigation.
Well, I also have the opportunity to watch a lot of body camera footage from accidents, and oftentimes the officers ask if you were using phones and if the driver was, and if they say no, that's the end of the conclusion. And I get it. There's only a certain amount you can do, and you guys have other things to police other than
Well, let me go back and explain a little bit also. So because we're short-staffed and because we don't have the funding to get to where we need to be, we don't even have police officers investigate a lot of accidents. There are community service people, and they can't write traffic tickets. So we have to decide, what do we want to do here? Do we want to dump more money into hiring more police officers so we can respond and have officers work these accidents? Or do we look at something else? So there's lots that goes into this.
Don't citations
and
generate
there's
revenue?
lots of things that people that are victims of accidents have through civil litigation. That was my point with that. My point was not that civil lawyers and everybody should go and sue somebody that's in a traffic accident. My point was, we have limited resources. We do what we can. We have come up with a way to help us solve some of those issues by having non-police officers investigate traffic accidents or crashes or whatever you want to call them. People have other remedies besides a police officer writing a ticket. And so, again, I'm not going to issue a policy that mandates that we write tickets in every situation. I'm going to leave it to the discretion of that officer. Well, that's what I'm getting criticized tonight for, is because that officer in two situations didn't write tickets. There's information that I know about those particular accidents that I'm not going to discuss because of the potential for civil litigation. So there's more than what's being brought out here tonight in these cases that I'm not going to comment on.
Understood, and I don't think I criticized you one bit. I just wanted you to see it from the perspective of, as a person that looks at police reports regularly from across the state, I don't see any citations granted. I'm not suggesting you write a policy to say they need to be granted or need to be issued. I just think it's a tool in the toolbox to make us a little bit safer on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Further questions, Mr. Flaherty?
Thank you. I did have some follow-up for Chief Diekoff also. Thank you so much for your being here tonight and helping us understand the perspective of the force. Thinking about the discretionary element. So on one end, there would be maybe no training or guidance at all, and just sort of discretion with whatever set of assumptions, biases, background, whatever, that an individual officer brings to a situation. On the other far end of a spectrum would be a prescriptive binary policy. You must issue ticket when. I understand why that's not advisable, and that's not what I'm advocating, or I think anyone else has, but I guess I'm curious, is there training about the discretionary element, and in particular, values of the city of Bloomington that maybe should be a factor that weighs into the discretionary choices that an officer makes when, issuing a citation or not? Similarly, you might think, I know your officers undertake implicit bias training, for instance, to consider, racial bias in policing and other forms of bias. So just being able to name and talk about these things in the course of training, that, we have policies in the city of Bloomington that try to address the endemic traffic fatalities that we have that are especially hard hit on vulnerable roadway users, that maybe that's a training that goes into the discretionary framework of officers. Like, do we have anything like that now? Is that viable? What are your thoughts about that by way of
officers go through extensive training at the academy with regards to traffic investigation and traffic accident investigation. We cover that in the field training officer program when it's basically on the job, on the street training. It is covered in that training as well. But again, it gets down to that fine line of, I don't know everything that the officer asked, saw, discussed in this particular accident, in this crash. I don't know what they did. There's stuff in there that would not necessarily be in the report. So I don't know why they didn't write a citation. The one that was brought up at Smith and Morningside, again, I don't know everything that happened. I do know that there's always information that comes about after we have left the scene, and we don't necessarily get that information delivered to us after the fact. So in situations where someone goes to the hospital, they could have been having a very normal conversation with the officer, and they go get checked out, and there's things that are much more serious that come about at the hospital. We don't get that information from the hospital. The person could call us back and say, hey, can you update the report and do this? But that doesn't happen very frequently. We don't necessarily always go back and follow up when initially it doesn't look that it was that severe of an accident.
Yeah, I hear you. I guess my feeling, we're talking about policy options to try to address this issue, not a particular case, but kind of at a holistic level. And my gut is that through training, we could probably do more to align our values around safe streets for all with some of the questions. So for instance, an officer could make sure that they're always communicating to the victim of a crash, that if they go to the hospital and injuries come up, that they can or should follow up and call back. Maybe you already do that, but just a request that we think about what role police training can play in the whole system here of trying to get safer streets for everyone. There's probably some improvement somewhere in there. I don't know all the details, but I do appreciate, again, you being with us tonight and helping explain some of that.
Let's try to get to public comment as soon as we can. Are there other second-round questions to my left? Do you want to wait till we'll have a round of questions after public comment to my right? All right. Let's go now to public comment on TCI 2515, the intersection of College Mall and Covenanter. This is, again, an inquiry as to whether the commission should follow up with, take no action, do further study, or bring a petition or resolution with respect to this intersection. I'm going to open the floor now to public comment. If you'd like to speak, please come to the podium, state your name, sign your name in the record, and you'll have 3 minutes. If you'd like to speak and you're online, please raise your hand in Zoom, and the secretary will recognize you. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this issue, TCI 2515? Is there anyone online who'd like to speak? Well, that's quite a surprise. Last call for public comment on TCI 2515. Seeing none, we'll come back to the commission for follow-up questions. To my right? To my left?
I think this is the time where we start putting together.
We're going to go now to debate.
Debate.
So here's your chance to make a comment on how we should proceed. Please try to frame your comments in one of the 3 options that we have. And also, please try to remember that the object of this commission is to focus on transportation. There have been public safety issues brought up here that are significant, some of which may be beyond our bailiwick. But with whatever it has to do with transportation, let's focus on that. With that, is there anyone who'd like to comment? On my left? Who wants to go first? I imagine there's some comments here. We'll start on my right with Ms. Germitis.
Yeah, I'm just thinking I like the way that it's framed with the Eagleson intersection of some short-term and long-term. So I would definitely move for there to be an actual petition or resolution brought forward in the future. I'd like it in like a short-term, medium, long-term things, and I would think short-term, I think in the request or in some of the description, at a very minimum, a sign left turn yield to pedestrians, I think would be added very quickly and cheaply. And then also in a short term, like being able to look at what type of retiming can be done with the current infrastructure. I don't know if that's maybe timing the pedestrian light to start sooner than turn signals, or for the intersection for the left turn to go red before it goes. Something like different options like that with different time frames would be good.
Thank you. Anyone want to follow that? Ms. Davis.
I'd add to that the prioritization of the restriping of that area with the lanes and the stop point and the left turn arrow.
Any other comments, first round comments? To my right? To my left? Mr. Stossberg.
I presume we could produce multiple petitions or resolutions as a
I was
result.
just going to say that there may be more than one outcome from this inquiry.
Yeah, because we had the infrastructure piece
Yeah.
and the policy question. On the petition side, the infrastructure part, one way to move forward is to reevaluate this intersection as part of our greenways program. It does not seem to be up to the level of comfort and safety that other parts of our neighborhood greenway are, and that's a place where we could reevaluate and see what could be done there. On the resolution side, the policy side, I think there's an opportunity to review our policy about when we cite. I don't think it's practical to cite in all cases. That don't believe we have the resources for that. There's an opportunity to look at the alignment with our Safe Streets for All Vision Zero plan, and possibly citing in some cases regarding vulnerable road users.
Thank you. Any further comments from members? Mr. Flaherty.
Yeah, I was reminded by the comment to my right. Just briefly, I had brought a resolution and the council passed it in, I think, 2023 around using leading pedestrian intervals. Pedestrian signal goes several seconds before the light changes to give visibility, time to begin crossing, et cetera. I get the sense that if the pedestrian actuated button hasn't been pressed, that maybe the left turn happens first, so it would be contingent upon that. But when we worked with engineering staff to develop that resolution and policy, which will inform the signal retiming study, we weren't sure exactly how to take a systematic approach to where those leading pedestrian interval treatment should go. We use the downtown pedestrian, kind of the downtown overlay as a, a proxy for where there's high pedestrian activity, but I think also named places where there is a lot of pedestrian activity. This was before the Safe Streets for All action plan, and I know that's called out as a potential policy intervention in that plan as well. And maybe we need to be thinking about pedestrian crashes. Maybe you all already are, but in particular, the vulnerable road users map essentially as a filter with which to to apply to that LPI treatment as you get into that. So just bumping that up in particular. Thank you.
To my left, Mr. Drumming.
My only comment would be, from personal experience, this is a tricky intersection. I mean, it's an intersection that I use often, and I'm not sure last time I was there, I'm not sure the button actually worked to head to the east. I know it confuses. You have to kind of, if you're riding, you kind of have to walk. You have to go up on the sidewalk and maybe go 5 feet over. Anyway, for whatever that's worth, or maybe it'd be worth nothing. But we should check to make sure the button works.
Anybody else want to comment before I take a crack? On my left, on my right, Mr. Binder.
Yeah, I'll just take the opportunity to say that in my experience, there is a widespread public perception that the police do not enforce traffic laws as strictly as they used to. And I think that is definitely worth considering here. It's not something our commission can really seemingly do anything about, but that has to be part of the solution here. Sorry to see that the chief has left the room, so he can't hear this, but maybe he'll see you later.
All right, well, there's a couple of things to observe here. First of all, from the transportation perspective, from the infrastructure perspective, I meant to ask about leading pedestrian intervals. I was wondering why that can't be the first thing that's implemented. Does it mean that it would be too onerous to require a red light all around for a couple of seconds while the pedestrians cross? Like, I wish I had asked, and I wasn't clear enough on that, so I'd like to know more. And I suspect that we're going to be doing at least some research into this issue once this inquiry is concluded. I do think that this intersection should be bumped up in priority. Like, just bottom line, I am familiar with it from both a bicycle and a automotive perspective. There's not a lot about College Mall Road that I am happy with as somebody who's uses it as a pedestrian or as a driver. I think it does encourage speeding still, that it needs to be redesigned and rethought. And a couple of years ago, when we were looking, there was a faction of City Council that was eager to see that road tamed, and I was a member of that faction. That this inquiry has come along now, and that this commission is here to address it, I think is very timely. I recall that in the prior item, we were talking about an intersection that Mr. Seabour had cited at the last meeting as a good example of an intersection that needed a light more than the light at the corner of North Walnut and Blue Ridge. And I took that to heart. And I think that this intersection is competitive in that respect, that it's already got a light, of course, but it really needs attention. So I would recommend some kind of action towards studying the intersection and figuring out how we can prioritize it higher. From the other perspective, the safety perspective, I was appreciative of the fact that the chief talked about implicit bias training. And I think that part of the reason for the very existence of this commission is that implicit bias exists in this city in many ways, and one that's not conventionally covered by federal or state policy is implicit bias towards automobiles. That we have an implicit bias towards the driver. That I think if what I'm hearing is correct, that there's a concern among members of this commission that police officers who, I don't think it's fair to really blame them for anything else they care, I mean, in this situation. But they may well have an implicit bias towards the driver. It's as used by the term, as evidenced by the term accident. I think it's very common for people who don't realize that they have an implicit bias towards automobiles, that they use the term accident. Well, it couldn't be anybody's fault, it's just an accident. But I know that other departments of the city have made an effort to start using the word crash, the word collision, which doesn't assign blame, but it also doesn't absolve anyone of blame. And I think that that's an issue here. I think that's an issue for these accidents that we're talking about now, and that was brought up in Park Ridge East, and that we need to address any implicit bias that we have in the city towards automobiles, because literally all the documents that we're supposed to follow are supposed to emphasize non-automotive forms of transportation. And this is a good example of why we're here, is this issue. So I think that the chief, I regret that he's not in the room, that he was sensitive to criticism here. It's understandable. I think that this is one aspect of the policy that we need to change. I don't expect a police officer to, I kind of don't blame them yet for using the term accident or for treating, for not really thinking harder about writing a citation for someone who caused injury. But we're busy measuring fatalities and serious injuries throughout the city. And here is an example of a serious injury that we have direct testimony from someone who said that my life was changed for this. And we hear from Mr. Drummy that, it all but doesn't go recorded so that it can be cited in court later. It's a thorny problem. We can't expect the chief alone to solve it, and we shouldn't. It's literally why we're here. And so I think that's why this is an excellent inquiry that really needs to be at least researched more. I just don't know what I'd recommend in that second case, except more research at the moment. Although I'm certainly open to entertaining any motion for resolution to that end. But that's my initial thought. I'd love to hear feedback from members. Is there a second round comment from anybody on my left?
I think we should move forward with the petition for the infrastructure part and the resolution for the policy part.
On my right? Any further comment? All right, Mr. Salzberg, would you, I guess we need a little help from staff to structure this. How do we make a recommendation here? Do we just say, I can't read it. Do we have to be a specific, to make a specific petition or a resolution?
If your goal is to ask for something to be done specifically, yes, you should be as clear and specific as possible.
Mr. Salzberg, would you care to frame it?
Yeah, so I heard a number of calls for infrastructure improvements at the intersection. I think we should take those collectively and then leave it to our staff to come up with final recommendations there. One way to bundle them together is to think about it as part of our Greenway network, which is a higher comfort, higher safety part of our street system that is designed for vulnerable road users. I think we don't want to always respond to every case with like, oh, there was a crash. We should do better at that intersection because we have a lot of crashes. But this is a case where we are trying to have a system that is safer for our vulnerable road users, and this intersection, I think, has failed us. So the petition I would propose is to have the staff revisit the College and Covenanter intersection as part of our Greenways network and bring it up, review the standards and bring it up to our safety standards for our Greenway system.
That's a petition?
Yes.
And do you have a resolution as well?
The resolution would be the policy question. In light of what we learned from the chief and from a personal injury lawyer here, to review our policy for citing drivers particularly make sure that is aligned with our Safe Streets for All program and Vision Zero goals.
All right, let's take the petition first. So do you have his motion? Do you have it as a motion? Do you need him to make a motion? This is our first time doing this, so
Yeah,
I don't know how
sorry.
to do this.
I understood the motion. I don't, well, hold on.
Okay.
Mr. Roebling is going to Mr. Seaborg for consultation. Yeah. We'll take a TV timeout.
Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure that planning and transportation and engineering were all on the same page. I heard the request. I don't think there's a specific item that's being requested, and that is tricky. I think that what was proposed is closer to B, which would be asking us to study it with a short-term, near-term, and long-term solution, which we absolutely can do, and we can package that together with a potential petition. The idea behind the bring a petition forward is like if you were Mrs. Stromidis's observation that you could add a sign. That's a specific thing we could do and could be included as a petition, if that makes sense. That one wouldn't need to be a petition, just for the record, but that is a thing that you could ask us to do right now. If that.
All right, multiple motions can come from this inquiry, so why don't you make the first motion for a B?
Then the motion would be for additional study of the College and Covenanter intersection as it pertains to our greenways program, to make sure it's safe enough.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote on this first motion?
Davis.
Study.
Yes.
Strasburg.
Yes.
Kopic.
Yes.
Connell. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Stromidis.
Yes.
Sorry, I got into a groove. A Binder.
Yes.
Volin.
Yes.
Drummy.
Yes.
Flaherty.
Yes.
That motion passes 8-0. Is there a second motion? Do you need help framing it? Can you help Ms. Stromidis frame the motion that she mentioned?
That I would say for the signage. Is it? I'm clarifying.
Well, if it's a good idea, we should.
Okay, sure. Let's do a motion to request that the city staff put up signage saying yield to pedestrian for left turn signals at the College Mall and Covenanter intersection.
Is there a second?
If that's in line with the, I don't know, staff's recommendation.
Second.
A motion and a second. I'm not sure what it was. This is a new commission, folks. We appreciate your patience. We're trying to muddle our way through here. Is this simply a request to staff? Is it a resolution that we're bringing or a petition?
Yeah, this one would be a resolution. Sorry, I had
This
to think
would be
about
what?
This one would be closer to a resolution.
Okay, so
which, yes.
Mr. Stromidis is requesting a resolution to put signage up at the intersection accordingly, and Ms. Davis has seconded it. Can we get a roll call vote on that motion?
Strasburg.
Yes.
Kopic.
Yes.
Stromidis.
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
Volin.
Yes.
Drummy.
Yes.
Flaherty.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
That passes 8-0 as well. Thank you, Mr. Midas. Is there another motion? Mr. Strasburg?
Resolution to review our policy on citing drivers, in particular for alignment with our Safe Streets for All and Vision Zero goals.
Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the secretary please call the roll on that third motion, that resolution?
Kopic.
No.
Stromidis.
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
Volin.
Yes.
Drummy.
Yes.
Flaherty.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Strasburg.
Yes.
that resolution, or that motion passes 7-1 for a resolution. Are there any further motions? Last call? Seeing none, thank you for bringing this, this item to our attention, Ms. Gao. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your patience. We now move to the last item in cases, TCP 2516, the Local Motion Grant Program Application Review and Funding Allocations. I see Mr. Duncan back at the podium.
Hi there again, Hank Duncan, Safe Streets Program Manager. I'll go through a quick background of the grant program and then allow these wonderful applicants to spend some time and advocate for their grants. The city funds local initiatives that promote walking and bicycling culture in Bloomington through the Local Motion Grant Program. The primary goal of the Local Motion Grant Program is to advance bicycle and pedestrian mobility. This program intends to provide direct support to initiatives that focus on cultural, day-to-day, or other locally based activities that also aim to strengthen our diverse and vibrant bicycling and walking culture. It is open to nonprofit organizations, locally owned businesses, and neighborhood associations for projects that take place within Bloomington city limits. The Local Motion Grant Program experiences one grant cycle annually, and requests are limited to one project application per cycle. Grant awards are capped at a total maximum of $2,400 per project application. Historically, applications and funding allocations were reviewed as part of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Commission regular meeting business. In accordance with inheriting the obligations of the Bike and Ped Commission, staff have assumed that the Transportation Commission is now tasked with supervising the Local Motion Grant Program. Applications presented to the Commission for consideration are from the following groups: the downtown branch of the Monroe County Public Library, I'm sorry if I get the pronunciation wrong, Canarps Moto Club, Summit Hill Community Development Corporation, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Bloomington, Maple Heights Neighborhood Association, Monroe County YMCA, and the Bloomington Bicycle Project. All 7 applicants have requested $2,400 for a combined total of $14,400. Due to the high volume and quality of applications for this 2025 grant cycle, the Planning and Transportation Department has increased the total available amount of funding to $8,000. Consequently, staff have solicited the Commission to prioritize which groups should receive funding and how much funding should be allocated to each project proposal. Pursuant to the formal adoption of the responsibility to coordinate and supervise the program, staff request that commissioners review the guidelines for the 2025 Local Motion Grant Program, approve specific applications for the disbursement of grant funds by the Planning and Transportation Department, and recommend a specific allocation of funds. Before we go into individual presentations, I want to allow you all to ask any questions about the grant program itself.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Duncan. Are there questions about the grant program from commissioners? Ms. Davis.
Are any of the current applicants previous recipients of this grant?
Yes, and I don't have a complete list from before I was at the city, but from when I was at the city and maybe a couple of years prior, the Monroe County Public Library has received grants from this program. The Boys and Girls Clubs of Bloomington has received grants from this program. The Monroe County YMCA has been a past recipient, and the Bloomington Bike Project has been a past recipient. I don't believe I missed anybody there.
Thank you. Questions from other members? Okay, no other questions about the grant program? I do have a question. What's the total funding available?
$8,000.
Per person or altogether?
Altogether. Originally, it was $2,400, but after seeing the high volume and quality of applications, we allocated some extra funds for this program.
Okay, and, okay, that's fine. So do you want to continue? Or is that, I don't know what to do with this.
That is all I had. I'm going to throw it to Iris to organize the presentations, and then the applicants will come up and talk about their projects.
Oh, I see. Okay.
May I ask a question?
Mr. Drumming.
So then, is the idea that we will decide how to allocate these funds this evening?
Preferably, yes.
Okay.
A worksheet was provided in the packet to sort of help guide facilitating this part, because I recognized it can be a little much to think about, yeah.
I will add the caveat, if you all need until next month to decide formally, that time is available, but logistically, to get grants out before the end of the calendar year, it is easier on staff and applicants if you decide tonight.
Just to point out that we have no meeting scheduled after this until
Then
January.
it is very preferable that you decide tonight.
So we need to decide tonight, and with that, I am very sorry that this meeting has taken as long as it has for us to get to this. I think we could have scheduled it differently. But at any rate, Ms. Davis.
Just a quick question. Would it be possible to award less than $2,400?
Yes.
So, for example, if the commission said, well, let's give 4 groups $2,000, that would be an option.
Any allocation disbursement that you all come up with, that is allowed. Now, there are some projects that are, I would say, more doable, executable with partial funding than others, so keep that in mind, but yes, you can choose any disbursement that you all want to.
Thank you.
Any further questions before we go forward with this? Ms. Davis, is this the time where you want to make your announcement?
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I have I'm not sure if it's conflict of interest, but I am involved with one of these organizations, so I will not be voting. But all of these projects are fantastic, and I encourage us to think about mobility in the broadest possible sense. Thanks.
All right, so you're recusing yourself then, that's what you're saying?
That is what I'm doing.
All right, so.
Mr. Chair, sorry to interrupt. I also have a point of order. Similarly, I'm also involved in one of these organizations, and I will, for the same reason, also be recusing myself from this.
So dropping like flies, okay. All right, so we're down to 6. Anybody else want to recuse themselves while we're at it? We can at least retain quorum? All right. With that, then, I guess we can simply invite each presenter.
Yeah, staff are prepared to present materials in the order they were sort of listed in the staff report, with the Monroe County Public Library up first for a presentation, if that's amenable.
Were they given an expectation of how much time they would have to present?
They have been given the expectation that they have about 5 minutes, I believe.
All right. So we'll if you'll run the clock for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. My name is Chris Jackson. I am the Outreach Services Manager at Monroe County Public Library, and my proposal for the local motion grant is funding for free community rollators. I assume that all of you know what a rollator is, but you may not have been familiar with the name. I'm trying to get the slides here to move. There we go. So a rollator is a form of a walker. It's sort of an enhanced walker, enhanced by having 4 wheels, whereas most traditional walkers have either no wheels or 2 wheels. They also have handbrakes that allow the user to stop the rollator from rolling, which can be very important if you're in an unstable setting or on any sort of incline. They also have an integrated seat, so the user who may have stamina or strength issues can take a rest safely wherever they may be and not have to find some other place to sit down. They are a device that is now very commonly used and for which there is a high demand. So why is the library guy asking for mobility aids? Well, it comes into another aspect of my job, which is the library's ADA coordinator, where I also sit on the City of Bloomington Council for Community Accessibility. And there at CCA meetings, a group of wheelchair users who are regular participants, including one, Ms. Davis, which is why she's recusing herself, we're talking about the fact that they all collectively have a lot of mobility aids that they've used over the years but are no longer currently using. They were collecting dust in closets and garages, too valuable to throw away, but no easy way to get them to somebody who could benefit. So that group of CCA members decided to do something about their dilemma and created a local nonprofit called MALL, which stands for Mobility Aids Lending Library. Being a part of the same council, I heard the word library and my ears certainly popped up, and I realized that this was a good fit with a library initiative that many libraries, including ours, is doing, which is a library of things. We don't just circulate books and movies anymore. We also circulate in our library binoculars and ukuleles and cellular hotspots and iPads and all sorts of non-traditional things that the community has a need for. So what a great thing for us to distribute, mobility aids that can benefit people who have health, mobility, disability, things that prevent them from making full use of what they can experience. So here's a picture of our Library of Things room. This is a brand new space that we just moved it into last week, along with some signage. You'll see canes and crutches and walkers. What you don't see in that picture is rollators. Those are the 4 categories of things that we collect, but we can't keep rollators in stock because the demand is too high. Now, we don't purchase any of these materials. They are all donations. And because we give them out for an indefinite period, unlike most library loans, because it'd be cruel to give somebody a cane and then say, but you need to bring it back in 3 weeks, whether you're done with it or not, it's not an appropriate use, we feel, for our regular collections budget with which we buy the books and movies and other things. So if we were to get a local motion grant, we would use it to buy as many rollators as we could. They're about $100 each, and we have a local vendor that's been part of the MALL program that works with us and gives us a good price on those. And the outcomes would be enhanced mobility, independence, safety, and exercise for people with mobility limitations, whether it be a temporary or a permanent limitation. And essentially, it would, we feel, enhance the community of walkers in the city of Bloomington. So thank you for the opportunity to present this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I appreciate it. Can we go to the second? Or do we take questions?
No, I believe the protocol here was to simply observe all of the presentations.
Very good. All right, thank you. Let's go to the second presenter.
The Knarps Motor Club.
Is there someone here from the Knarps Motor Club to present? Maybe they're online?
There was no prior coordination from a representative from this group, so staff are not aware of someone hoping to participate virtually at this time.
Okay, can we then move to the next one? Summit Hill Community Development Corporation, is there someone here? Yes, there is.
You need a rollator about now. I have one at home, actually. I'm Rhonda Moore, Capital Assets Manager for the Bloomington Housing Authority, and I'm here on behalf of our sister company, Summit Hill Community Development Corporation. We would like to apply for a bike repair station and a control bollard to sit next to it. We'd like to place that just off Monroe Street in our Crestmont complex, right behind the Crestmont Community Building. We have a lot of bicycle and, what am I trying to think? Mopeds, scooters that they all could use a bike repair station, so that would be really beneficial in that area. I selected that area because I have an 18 by 7 foot spot in the parking lot that's not quite wide enough for a vehicle, and I'd like to place the repair station with a control bollard to protect it. And it's also in an area with several surveillance cameras, so it should be well protected. The total amount for the repair station and the control bollard is $2,820.23. So we've applied for the 24, and then the additional 400 and change would we be our in-kind contribution, and I would have our maintenance staff install those. They both come with mounting hardware to install on concrete. Let's see. That's like the highlights I've got. Does anybody have any questions?
We're not taking questions at this time, so
Oh, okay.
thank you. We're just taking
All right.
presentations. Let's go now to the next presentation. That would be the Boys and Girls Club of Bloomington. Is there someone here ready to present?
To the right. Hi, my name is Wendy Druckmiller, and I am the Grants and Impact Director for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Bloomington. And so tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about what our mission is, how we build capacity for healthy lifestyles, the benefits of riding bikes, and our project description, which is the Club Riders program. So the mission of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Bloomington is to empower all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as caring, productive, and responsible citizens. So our mission aligns with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America's vision to have local clubs like ours be places where a child's individual circumstances do not determine their access to experiences. With that, we plan our programs with a mindset to support academic achievement, preparing for life after high school, developing good character and learning what it means to be a good citizen, and building healthy habits early that lead to a desire to be physically active and positive health outcomes that extend into adulthood. So why do we need healthy lifestyles programs? I have my glasses on, so hopefully I can read everything that I wrote here. But healthy, active children experience benefits like increased levels of academic achievement, fewer behavioral problems, better health outcomes in adulthood, improved sleep hygiene, and stress reduction and emotional well-being. However, today's youth are less healthy than in previous decades. Less than 1/3 of school-age children get the daily recommended amount of physical activity. Over the last 40 years, the number of youths affected by obesity has more than tripled, and sedentary behaviors such as large amounts spent on screens are on the rise. So the Boys and Girls Clubs of Bloomington fills an important role in our community by providing affordable, accessible childcare in a fun and safe environment. We just charge $20 for an annual membership, which includes transportation from their school site, a daily snack or a meal, and participation in dynamic program choices Monday through Friday during the school year and during summer and school breaks. We also walk the walk by modeling healthy choices through engagement and partnerships with staff, volunteers, and community organizations that are committed to nurturing healthy outcomes for Bloomington's youth. So, as you all probably know, there's lots of benefits to riding bikes. It improves coordination and balance. It also builds endurance and increases lung capacity. It gets kids outside, leading to better sleep hygiene and overall stress reduction. Riding a bike is a great way to begin adopting healthy habits, and youth who ride bikes regularly experience greater connection to the community and have opportunities for socializing with their peers. We offer healthy lifestyles programs that appeal to a wide range of interests, including Cutters soccer, First Tee golf, Upward basketball and cheerleading, yoga, dance, martial arts, volleyball, gymnastics, floor hockey, and biking through our Club Riders program, which is what we're talking about tonight. So the Club Riders program focuses on creating new experiences for members, allowing them to explore Bloomington in a safe group setting. Members learn about safety, bike etiquette, route planning, and bike maintenance, both in club and community settings. This is just a little bit about the two clubs that we're requesting funding for. There's the Ferguson Crestmont Club, looks like 549 registered members currently, 388 of them youth and 161 teen members. And our Lincoln Street Club has 1,497 registered members, 1,198 youth, and 299 teen members. A high percentage of the members who attend these clubs do not have access to riding bikes outside of the experience that they have at the club due to time and money limitations. Combined between these two clubs, nearly 500 households fall into the low to moderate income category. Over 800 members are eligible for free or reduced price lunch, and just over 600 are single parent households. This is just a little bit about our project timeline. So our funding is to request to support staffing costs at both the Lincoln Street and the Ferguson Crestmont Club. We do have in-kind donations of bikes and helmets that are being donated. Our project timeline is to begin in January 2026 by hiring 2 additional youth development staff members to run the club riders at our Ferguson, Crestmont, and Lincoln Street clubs, with registration opening up to families in January and having an additional 20 members go through the program within our spring semester. So Club Riders present some challenges compared to other programs that can be ran indoors or with larger group while continuing to keep kids safe. For one thing, our staff to youth ratios are lower while in the community compared to in buildings. And with the Club Riders program, where factors like traffic and inexperienced riders come into play, the ratio is even lower, which is 1 to 10. There's also bike repairs and safety gear to consider. However, through our partnerships and with your support, we were able to provide the experience to 140 members last year. The vision of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Bloomington is that we are a place where hope begins and transformation never ends. Thank you very much.
Thank you, just in time.
Pardon me? Just in time?
Just in time. All right, thank you. Let's go to the next proposal, and that would be the Maple Heights Neighborhood Association, is that right? Yeah, Maple
Yes.
Heights. Is there someone here from Maple Heights who wants to present, or online perhaps? Is there any person attending this meeting online who is here to present on behalf of the Maple Heights Neighborhood Association? They are? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. You'll have 5 minutes.
Thanks. I'm going to try to share my screen. My name is Liberty Flora. I'm a resident of the Maple Heights neighborhood. I am coming to you today to apply for an application to prepare and paint the 11th Street Bridge. And just one second. I know I'm burning time, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I know we're all busy and it's a late night. So can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So as a quick background, the 11th Street Bridge is on the corner of 11th and Fairview. It's a thoroughfare for many pedestrians using the Beeline Trail, going to the Trades District, going downtown, or even using Butler Park. The underpass of the train bridge creates a sense of it doesn't create a sense of safety for pedestrians and bikers alike. So I've experienced this as well as many of my neighbors who have mentioned it and have also explained that they were reaching out to the Indiana Railroad without any luck in achieving any kind of response from them. So I, this fall, reached out to the Indiana Railroad to kind of probe them with an idea of removing the old paint and then preparing for a future mural or some sort of paint on this underpass. So I was successfully able to contact the Indiana Railroad. They are willing to provide some health and safety features such as waivers, making sure that everyone on site who volunteers is, I guess, safe in any kind of when they participate in this. So I thought of it as an opportunity to move forward, even if funding is split and is not the full amount of funds that I requested is granted completely, because what we're trying to do here is share this information with the public and let them know that we as a neighborhood association care about not only the safety of pedestrians, but the way our neighborhood looks and feels to people who have been here and people who are coming through here and will be here in the future. So basically the goal is to continue coordination with the Indiana Railroad. We can't complete this without them, but so far they are on board. And then also market to the public and come up with some other funds, because this is, as you can see on the right, it's just an estimate of $4,000 just to remove the paint and put on a blank slate. Through multiple iterations with my neighborhood association, we thought it would be a good idea to also apply for the neighborhood improvement grant, which would, if we were to receive that also would put us closer to our goal of putting in a mural. So having someone, whether it be one person or a multiple group of people, do a mural at this location and seal it so that it's, going to withstand potential graffiti or weather conditions that have caused it to get to this place in the first place. So it's going to be a year-long process, but we thought this was a good opportunity to get our feet, get things rolling and really have the Indiana Railroad on board with what we're doing and build trust within them. And so that's why I applied for the local motion grant. And I think I'm probably at my 5 minutes. So I want to thank you all very much and hope you all get home soon to your families and loved ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You had more than a minute left, but we'll take that time.
That's okay. Bye.
Let's go now to the Monroe County YMCA. Please come to the podium. You'll have 5 minutes. And the last one, the Bloomington Bike Project. Is there someone here from that group? Great.
My name is Kevin Vale, and I am the Development Director at the Monroe County YMCA. I first want to thank the Bloomington Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Commission, the Transportation Commission, for this awesome opportunity for both the YMCA and all these incredible, worthy organizations here in Bloomington. The YMCA is applying for Healthy Kids Day, which is on April 18th, 2026. The goal of Healthy Kids Day is pretty simple. It's to improve the health and well-being of kids and families. It's a free community event with numerous activities for both kids and their families. These activities range from STEM to family contests, and with the understanding that well-being extends beyond fitness. Within fitness, a focus has been placed at the YMCA that fitness extends beyond structured exercise or structured sport. For children, that often represents play and things like bicycles. We're placing a focus on cardio, moderate to high cardio fitness activities that, again, extend beyond structured sport. And this is where we want to involve bicycles in our Healthy Kids Day. Anecdotally, we're learning more and more that children participating in our summer camps can't ride a bicycle at an age that one would expect a child to be able to ride a bicycle. And this can happen for a number of reasons. They simply just don't know how, they don't have a bike, or they don't have a working bike. With our Healthy Kids Day, we intend to involve bicycles. Because of this, IU Health will be doing free helmet fittings and giveaways, and we intend to have a local bike shop or bike club doing light-duty tune-ups and safety inspections. Again, our goal is to advocate for health and wellness outcomes extending beyond the four walls of the YMCA, teaching children skills and encouraging skills for families to become healthier versions of themselves. We are fortunate enough at the Y to have 6,000 local households as active members representing 16,000 individuals. Robust marketing efforts will take place for this event to that population and to the community at large, recognizing this grant opportunity all along the way. We intend to move forward with Healthy Kids Day in 2026 and hope the Commission can help the Y incorporate bike safety, functionality, and access into our event. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final presentation is from the Bloomington Bike Club. Bike Project, sorry. The Bloomington Bike Project.
I think I have some slides. I don't know if you have them or not. If you don't have them, I can go off the cuff. That's okay. That's just fine. We'll go with no slides. There were some pretty pictures of the bike project, but I'll just paint that picture for you. I'm Greg Janowiak here with the Bloomington Bike Project. For those of you who are not familiar, the bike project is a fully volunteer-supported bike shop. about a block and a half that way. We are open 3 days a week and also on Saturday for 3 hours. Folks come into our bike shop to use our tools and to fix their bicycles. They get a little help from our volunteer mechanics. Some folks also come in to purchase a bicycle or components. All of our bicycles and components are listed at well below market value. They're really affordable, something that people like about this particular place in town. So what are we applying for? We need help fixing some things so that we can continue fixing bikes. The 3 things that are top of our list right now is our air compressor, our bike work stands, and our consumables that are commonly used by folks who visit the bike project. So the air compressor, you might think, why do we need an air compressor if you have pumps? Well, we're open for 2 hours a shift when we are open, and so efficiency is key. If we're fighting over pumps or looking at, for pumps around the shop, we're losing valuable time. The air compressor is important to us, and in addition, it's also available for use 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the way we have it set up at our location. Same thing with the work stands. They've been in heavy use for many years now and either need repaired or replaced, so we're looking to repair and replace some of those. Our consumables that are really popular but not often donated are things like lights, lubricants, and locks. All things that folks need to get around town on their bicycles safely. And many of the visitors that we have to the bike project are riding their bicycles as a primary form of transportation around Bloomington. So we expect that the air compressor is probably the most expensive thing to fix here, followed by our work stands and then the remaining part of the budget for consumables. But really what we're looking for is we'd love to see this local motion program go directly to support the parts of our organization that get folks back out on their bikes. So I'm really looking forward to that, and just want to thank everyone for being here, listening to our proposal, and looking forward to working with you all in the future.
Thank you for the presentation. All right, so we have 7 worthy applicants, and we've heard presentations from 6, I think. We could split up $8,000 evenly, 48% of each request. Most of them are asking for the full $2,400. We could fund 3 1/3 in full, whatever the third means, or we could do something else. I'm not sure how the prior commission did this. If there's someone who was on the Bike Ped Commission who has done these before, Mr. Duncan, maybe you can advise us?
Hi, I would recommend asking any questions you have for the applicants now and then go into deliberations after, so we can send them home if they want to leave.
Okay.
After you ask them questions, just a recommendation. But
could I invite the applicants over here to come closer to the microphone in case we have a question for you, because we'd like to try to minimize the amount of time here. All right, are there any questions from members to any of the applicants? Mr. Kopic.
Maybe of the staff. How many of the applicants have been funded before?
of the current applicants, the YMCA, the Bloomington Bike Project, Boys and Girls Club, and Monroe County Public Library have been funded before.
Any other questions from members? Mr. Flaherty.
Yeah, briefly for the Monroe County YMCA. I noted your application said that your budget goal for Y for All in 2026 is $125,000, and that this would be a good jumpstart towards that way. Could you describe it all? Like, I'm asking because it's a bit different than some of the other applications that have total project budgets of $3,000 or $4,000, and curious for how you imagine this fitting into the overall fundraising or development plan, and where else you anticipate you might be able to raise funds or where you might fall short.
Yeah, absolutely. So when looking at Y for All, the vast majority of those dollars that we receive come from individual gifts. mostly our members, some former members who've moved away. It could come through charitable trusts from people who pass on, but in the vast majority of instances, it does come from individual gifts. We've placed the focus on seeking more local dollars to support those Y for All scholarship initiatives. The Y for All Fund, for anyone that's not familiar, provides scholarships to people in the community who are not able to afford the Y's services. Every year we send kids to summer camp. We send a ton of seniors. We don't put guardrails on who could apply for Y for All. We encourage everyone and anyone who's in a position of need to apply, but most often see it affecting children for summer camp, single-parent households, and seniors on limited incomes. So the goal would be to use up the dollars that are available to prepare for Healthy Kids Day, and any overage wouldn't go to operations, it would go to that Y for All Scholarship Fund.
Got it. And is there a Healthy Kids Day specific budget, like a smaller line item that that one's for?
That is one thing that we're still ironing out. You know, Healthy Kids Day is planned for 2026, but it'll be covered through operations.
Yes, yeah. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Further questions? I've got one. I've got a question for the library, Mr. Jackson. What is the current waiting list for rollators?
We had 2 come in last week and they went out right away, so I don't currently have anyone on the waiting list. We've had up to 3 or 4 people on the list at one time. It is of the 4 categories of items that we distribute, canes, crutches, walkers, and rollators. It is the one where we don't get donations sufficient to meet the demand. We did get a grant from another entity 2 years ago when we were just starting, from the Wall Charitable Trust, that allowed us to purchase 25 rollators. Those had all gone out within about 6 months of their receipt. I would also like to say that we sometimes get items back. People do sometimes need them for a short period of time to recover from an accident or a surgery or something like that. So it's not a goes out once and only benefits one person situation. Probably about 1/4 of them do circulate to more than one person.
So you don't really have a sense of the pent-up demand because you don't keep a waiting list. It's kind of
well, we do when we have people who want them and we don't have them in stock. Currently, it's almost parity, but not quite. So it's the one item where we do sometimes have a waiting list, even though we have nobody on the waiting list, but we also have no rollators. So
got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Any further questions from members for any of the applicants? Seeing none, does this subject to public comment? All right, let's open the floor to public comment for people who are not already spoken. There's nobody in the room who's not an applicant. So if there's anybody online who'd like to comment on these allocations. Oh, is there a member of the public who, okay. Please come and state your name. If you're online, please raise your hand in Zoom, and the secretary will call your name as soon as possible. You'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name.
Thank you, David Brantez. I just wanted to speak in support of the Bloomington Bike Project. They are a very scrappy group of people that help people multiple times a week. And, you know, these are the customers that are coming in are wanting to walk and bike, and sometimes we see scooters there as well. But it is a very useful resource that people are like trying to fix their bikes so that they can get home that day. So I think this is a very quick and dirty solution to make sure that they can keep running as they run now. I also want to voice some support for the library as well. I think that's a very cool low-waste solution that serves some older folks or people with mobility issues that aren't commonly a part of all of these other, I would say, like walking and biking conversations. So I learned about that today and thought that was a very cool program. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to speak? Last call for public comment on TCP 2516, Local Motion Grant Program Application Review and Funding Allocations. Seeing none, we'll come back to the commission and those who have not recused themselves for debate. How do we split this money? I'm looking for comments.
My comment
Mr. Drummy.
would be, the full amount of the request is 2,400, is that right?
2,400 is the max they can ask for. We have 8,000 total to allocate.
And I'm not one that likes to split the baby generally, but what if one way to solve this problem would be, or because of, I appreciate you all being here, is giving the groups that have never received this grant the full amount of the funding and then dividing up the rest equally amongst the other applicants. It would be one way mathematically to do it, but I'm open to, I would love to hear everyone's ideas.
Any other ideas? There's only 6 of us.
So,
Mr. Stossberg.
yeah, one of the criteria we're looking at is capacity. I think that individuals applying are at a disadvantage. The NARP's Moto Club seemed to be primarily an individual wanting to do one event. So that only heightened my concern about their capacity to do that with no one showing up. So I would recommend against funding that one-off event.
Any other thoughts? If there's no forthcoming, I'll make a couple thoughts. I tend to prefer to fund infrastructure over operating for dollars like this. So, I mean, I very much find the NARP's proposal interesting, but it's like a one-time event, whereas the 2 projects that are talking about bicycle repair stations, those are going to be ongoing and long-lasting and tangible. So I tend to prefer the proposals that are asking for money for buying equipment. So the bike project, the neighborhood association, the bicycle repair shop at Summit Hill, and the rolling walkers. I don't want to not fund anything else. I think that there's a couple that really only will happen if we give them the full 2,400. So I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if the event will happen if they get less than the full amount. But I think we should evaluate there too. Can I just get a quick poll? Which of the 3 that haven't been funded before? The Knarps Moto Club, I think, is one.
Summit Hill, Maple Heights.
Those 3 are new.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps me. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts. Anybody else who hasn't spoken yet, who is eligible to vote? Mr. Midas? Oh, Mr. Flaherty.
I believe every applicant did say they would be willing and able to complete the project with partial funding if needed.
Okay, good.
I'm sure there's an amount of money that could be small enough that might not be true.
Okay. Any other comments?
The Maple Heights project, just, I think it's a wonderful project. I use the bridge a lot, but it seems like it may align more with some of the city's beautification grants, since it's more focused on getting rid of graffiti and beautification. I don't know, just a thought. I don't see it as much aligning with the local motion specifically.
Any thoughts about which proposals would be able to better benefit from partial funding? Or not better benefit, but would not suffer from only being partially funded? This is a really hard way to do this in one meeting. I wish we had more time. Is it possible that we can call another meeting just to talk about this in December? Staff? Would you be-
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, that's fine.
All right. Because this is a difficult decision. I don't know how many of us, after having heard the presentations, are really willing to make the decision tonight. Do members have any thoughts about making a decision in December?
I think it would be best to,
What's that?
I think it would be best to finish our discussion tonight. I think as a meeting for an $8,000 budget is a little operationally heavy.
Okay, so anybody else have an opinion? We can keep going. If there's no other opinions, I need a motion. I need a proposal for how to split this money up. I can't make the proposal myself, I'm the chair. We're not going to do it this way next year.
I have a proposal.
Mr. Drummond.
Partial proposal.
I'm
I
listening.
would propose that we fund the Bloomington Bike Project and the Monroe County Library Project in full
Okay,
as
that-
a partial proposal.
That's $4,800, okay.
And equally distribute the remaining portion of it to the remaining projects, which would be Summit Hill, Maple Heights, YMCA, and Boys and Girls Club. Can someone do the math on that?
So that would be $3,200 divided by 5, which would be $640
Sorry,
each.
I think we have kind of said we'll take NARPS maybe off of the table for consideration.
Oh, so all except
We can agree
NARPS?
with that. Mhm.
Okay.
Would be my recommendation.
So I'm hearing $800 for 4 other groups and $2,400 for the library rollators and the Bloomington Bike Project. That sounds like a proposal. Mr. Flaherty?
I like the general direction of this proposal. I would have put Summit Hill higher on the list of like, this is a sort of something close to full funding to get the project done. And so I would have leaned, here's a counter proposal.
Okay.
Nothing to NARPS or Maple Heights. I'll just second the comments earlier about Maple Heights, that maybe there's a better fit. And also they signaled a desire to actually do this as a mural ultimately. And I wonder about this being folded into the mural project. I know that wasn't their aim. So my proposal would be actually $2,000 each to the library, Summit Hill, and Bike Project, with $1,000 each going to Boys and Girls Club and YMCA. I think both of which are really great projects, but sort of fit in the context of a larger operational setting for programmatic things. So
Okay, so once again, your proposal is the library, 2K, NARPS, 0, Summit Hill, 1K.
Nope, Summit Hill 2K.
2K, Boys and Girls Club, 1K, Maple Heights,
0.
0,
YMCA 1K, Bike
1K.
Project 2K.
and that's 8,000, okay.
I would second that if it was a motion.
Okay, well, let's sure, we're still in discussion phase. Before we put motions on the table that we have to vote on, just seeing if we can get a consensus. So I've got the Drummond-Sturmitis proposal, which is $2,400 for the library, $2,400 for the bike project, and then $800 each for the other 4.
I'll withdraw my proposal. Yeah, I like what we come up with.
All right, you see? You don't have to have 2 motions. All right, so once again, just to, one more time, if you would restate your proposal.
Would we like a motion, or would folks like to have
Yeah,
more discussion?
Well, is there any further discussion, any other ideas for among the 6 who can vote?
Okay, I move we allocate the $8,000 budget as follows: $2,000 to the public library, 0 to NARPS, $2,000 to Summit Hill, $1,000 to Boys and Girls Clubs, 0 to Maple Heights, $1,000 to YMCA, $2,000 to Bike Project.
And there's a second?
Second.
Who's the second?
Second.
Mr. Minus is the second. All right. We've already had public comment, so I guess it's time for a vote. Okay. Will the secretary please call the roll on the motion?
Yep. Binder.
Abstain.
Oh, sorry. That was the note I had, and then I read it. At Volin.
Yes.
Rummy.
Yes.
Flaherty.
Yes.
Stossberg.
Yes.
Kopic.
Yes.
Stromikis.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes 6-0. Congratulations to those who have won a grant. Our condolences to those who haven't. We thank you all for your time and your consideration tonight. We appreciate your patience as well. We now move to items, discussion of topics not on the docket. Are there any issues that members want to raise? Mr. Flaherty.
I had a short one, I hope short, in the context of our commission getting its footing and transitioning into next year, and also an item that was, when we were looking at the schedule earlier, staff had the kind of line up for like agenda items. I'll actually, and then packet items submitted. And I realized I'm not clear on the process if there is one for suggesting agenda items, for getting things in the packet. Does that go to the chair? How is that coordinated, I guess? How are we creating agendas? I know there's petitions coming from staff, but what's the role of commissioners and the chair?
Yeah, I can clarify that. So at the bottom of that schedule that includes all the deadlines is a Bloomington short link with TC appeal. That is a unique form that all commissioners and staff can use to submit, to request items be put on the agenda. On a monthly basis, the liaisons are meeting to settle out what is an appropriate agenda for the month. That's in advance, following the agenda deadline. There has been nothing requested that we haven't been able to incorporate into the planning process so far. But in terms of what it looks like, everyone who requests to be put on the agenda is then notified when it will be eventually heard, is the idea.
Okay, and is the chair involved in the conversation with the liaison in terms of I'm thinking of the council kind of analog here of a little bit of traffic keeping, pardon the transportation pun, of look, we had a pretty long night tonight, for instance. Also know it's the last meeting of the year, and we had business to get through, and I'm lengthening it now. But I'm just wondering about the role of the chair, and in particular from the council perspective, have always been a little sensitive to making sure there's some degree of independence and ability to impact the shape of a commission's work on top of whatever the staff and executive branch is bringing.
Yeah, so this is something that the city engineer is I think written into code as ultimately deciding the agenda. There's a couple reasons for that logistically, but principally trying to maintain sort of a boundary between, what's like an administrative procedure and what could be perceived as business, discussion of business. So far, we've just been able to maintain this as a formality in terms of discussing topics. I don't know, Andrew, if you want to speak into it any further.
I can also follow up via email. Sorry, I was just trying to get a little better sense for, agenda sourcing. I'll have to revisit code to address the thing you just mentioned, but okay. So right now it's done entirely by staff with commissioners having the ability, all commissioners having the ability to request an agenda item. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other items for topics that were not on tonight's docket? Seeing none. We go to general public comment for items not on the docket. Is there anyone, there's no one in the room to speak. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak on an item that was not on tonight's agenda? Please raise your hand in Zoom, and the secretary will call your name. Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak to an item that was not on the agenda? Last call. Having said that, let's just confirm that our next meeting will be January 26th, is that right? In this room at 5:30, and that's a regular hearing and not a planning session, is that correct? Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Happy New Year. Thank you everyone for putting up with us this first year.